Hello and welcome to the Innistrad Midnight Hunt slow set review. I do notice now that I am right in front of the camera, but that should be fine. So yeah, just like always, I want to really jump in right away, but I think it's also important to take a little bit of a sip of coffee when you just begin something. Just because that's nice. It's nice to have a sip of coffee in your body before you really begin anything. But yeah, this set, I must say that I will do something horrendous in a later video about this set. But this should be fun to check out anyways. So yeah, like I said, I really want to jump in. I'm excited to see the cards kind of again. So let's see it. We start off, and by the way, these are in succession of the time when they were released into the world. So the first one is Join the Dance. I do need to change one thing. That's really important here, because these earbuds don't work at all. I mean, they do, they sound nice, but like when I'm talking I can hear myself, which is not nice. One moment. Let's change these up. I think that wasn't per se bad for you guys, but I like this better. Yes, this works. See if it also works here. Yeah, it does. Amazing. Okay, let's just go. But Join the Dance, a Celestia colored sorcery, an uncommon, which says create 2 1/1 white human creature tokens. So you kind of gather 2 friends to dance with you into the night, and the flavor says we can go into the dark hand in hand or alone. I know which I prefer. Cool. It also has flashback for 5 mana, so you can use it again, but then it's way more expensive. I think that's interesting, the change in cost. Is it so much better to have 4 1/1s than 2 1/1s? I guess so, because the more the merrier, and if you have 4 people partying, that's a way better party than just 2 people partying. I mean, 2 people partying, that's more like a date. And he doesn't seem to care that his date is uninterrupted by us. So yeah, maybe that's why it's more expensive, because of the awkwardness. Play with Fire. A 1 mana instant. Play with Fire deals 2 damage to any target, which is just a shock again. If a player is dealt damage this way, you scry 1, so it does want you to hit face. Not going to explain what scrying means. Devils find human dwellings to be oppressively cold, dark, and unburned. So they will try to burn your city just because it will feel nicer to them. I mean, is that really so bad to do? I mean, they just want to make the surroundings feel nicer to themselves. I mean, we do this all the time. Infernal Grasp, a 2 mana instant. Destroy target creature, you lose 2 life, but that is so good. Destroy target creature for 2 mana, any target. Wow, that's amazing. Cool uncommon. Cool that it's an uncommon, because well, if removal is uncommon, you will get a lot of it. Duh. But I think that's good for the format anyways, because things can be a lot stronger this way. And they need to be, because werewolves should be strong. Ancient evils dwell within the burning chasm called the Ashmouth, ever ready to devour those foolish enough to travel alone. Ooh. So they won't come back to tell the story anyways, and I think they want to keep it that way. These ancient evils. And I think it's cool that we don't know what they are just evils. Random evils. Let's check the sound a bit before we scare anyone off. I think it's approximately the same. Okay, should be fine. Champion of the Perished, a 1-mana zombie, which zombie players like really small costed creatures, and definitely when it's a 1-mana rare. Whenever another zombie enters the battlefield under your control, put a +1 counter, on Champion of the Perished. Nice. That's strong. I mean, you will get a lot of zombies, and with the Perished... Oh, Champion of the Parish. So it does work good with perished creatures. He rose from the grave for every cobbler, tanner and fool who'd been slaughtered in the parish. And they rose and shambled after him. Cool. He's a champion, so he should be at the forefront of his army. And he does. He just goes for it. And he gets stronger when other people die and return too. What? Not again. Triskai Decaphile. What is that? I have no idea. We will have to look that up later. 2-mana human wizard that says you have no maximum hand size. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have exactly 13 cards in your hand, you win the game. That's pretty hard to do, but you have no maximum hand size, and if you play nothing, you might get there pretty fast. And for 4 mana you can draw a card. Not really the best rate, but it's repeatable and it's a mana sink, so that's cool. She is always willing to lend a hand. It just won't be her own. So is this a hand? Yeah, it's a hand in the art. That's nice. Matthias Golrose. That's nice. Nice detail. It's small as well. You don't have to look at it if you find floating hands gruesome. You don't have to look at it, but I will force you to do it right now. So I guess that defeats the purpose. But I like that. Maybe a Triskaideka is a hand or something. I've never heard it being called that, but a little bit of the Innistrad vibes here. No, I just think this person likes chains a lot. Oh, here's the same. So these are different arts, wait, but they don't look like different types of cards. So, oh, because this one you will get with the bundle. I think it's a promotion card. And this one is just a normal one. Okay, okay. They also like hands a lot. Yeah, I think maybe a Triskaideka is a hand, maybe. It's something. I'm really going to make stupid jokes right now. It's something to consider. For 1 mana, an instant, look at the top card of your library. You may put that card into your graveyard. So it's a Servile opt, and then you may draw a card. Ivold gasped in surprise. Either a very strange insect had crawled onto one of the lances, or he was seeing geists at last. So he was searching for geists. But why do they need to consider whether they saw geists or not, or something? Not sure. I mean, it does look a little bit like a ghost, but maybe that's just the smoke around them. And what I really like, says Shen, I think, sorry, is this mouth really looks like they are considering something. Like, you see that? That's consideration, right there. Cool. I like how they have gotten more technologic as well, it seems. Ren and 7, a 5 mana legendary planeswalker called Ren, a mythic. 5 loyalty counters when it comes in. And then you have 4 options. Usually 4 options makes planeswalkers a lot better. Of course, it makes them better than 3 options, but I think it's also way better because you have more options and you can put them into way more situations like this, because there are 2 that are not negative, so you could use these indefinitely in some ways, and most of the time the scaring of your opponents is more important than the actual effect, so people will want to attack Ren and 7 when it comes down. Reveal the top 4 cards of your library, put all land cards revealed this way into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. So it fills your graveyard and also lets you draw 1, 2, maybe 3 lands. Put any number of lands cards from your hand onto the battlefield tab. So if you got 4 lands and you were lucky, then you can put like 3 or 2 lands onto the battlefield the next turn. Extra. Their -3 is create a green 3/4 creature token with reach. And this creature's power and toughness are equal to the number of lands you control. So at least you will get this dude that's like a Multani for 5 mana, so that's pretty good. And you can probably pretty easily make 2 of those. I think, maybe. And its ultimate is return all permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand. That's sick. You get, with the +1, you get an emblem with you have no maximum hand size. They really are sharing around the maximum hand size a lot. Maybe there's a deck in this that's about getting 13 cards in your hand. But yeah, you won't get that anyways, because you need 3 turns with Ren and 7. I think it's more efficient to make these 3 folk dudes eventually. And I think if you would play this and you are a bit ahead, you would play it for the +1, getting more cards into your hand. Or maybe if you are a really big ramp deck and you already have a lot of lands in your hand, you might play the 0 cost. And the 3 mana, the -3 is also pretty good. Like making a really big creature to defend itself can just force your opponent to play differently, and I think that's the most important part about Planeswalkers. Our first land cycle with different, a few different, at least, different artists here. So Andreas Rocha made these 3. I think that they look a little bit similar, right? Like with how they're all a path that lead off into the distance, with these plains, with the pumpkins, and you don't know whether the scarecrow will come alive. Like these faces, these are faces in the water floating away or maybe towards you, which would also mean run. A mountain with some crows flying behind them. And then Andreas again with these skulls underneath the tree. And a wolf or a cat. I think it should be a wolf, but maybe it's a cat in the forest. And then this gruesome swamp. It should be the most gruesome, but I think this one will get the scary stamp for me. I think with the skies, how it looks a little bit more scary this way. Also, I am in the way of these cards. How dare I? I'm saying that this is the most scary one, and I will make myself. Hey, never mind. I'll make myself smaller like this. Sorry. But again, so this one with the pumpkins and leading off into the distance and with how the sky looks, I think that's way more scary than the swamp in this case, because it's a little bit too blatant. I mean, I wouldn't go here anyways, but maybe I would go here sooner. Hard to say. But these are really cool too. They look a lot like the previous one. Maybe the swamp is a lot different because it's like a real village. The island has some tentacles maybe coming out here. Maybe it's Emrakul again, or it's their essence maybe. The plains. It doesn't look like a plains. They all don't look like their lands, but I think the plains look the least like a plains for some reason. But they are cool. Would I play with them? I don't think I would use these because they are really specific. If you are going for a really specific horror theme, which the set of course is doing, then I think you might use these lands, but otherwise I wouldn't. They're not as universal as the Theros lands But I think that's the thing about Innistrad anyways. It has to have its own theme. It has to be alternative, to be a gothic themed set, I think. So that's cool that they made them like this. Actually, I like those. And then another piece of this cycle is where this island and this mountain look really, really fierce. The other ones look a bit like the previous ones, to be honest. But again, this looks more like a sea because it's so grayed out. But I think, yeah, maybe that's fine. But the swamp does look like a swamp, but because it's black and white, it looks almost more like just a river. The forest is a forest, but it's just trees. But the mountain has this weird sky and these airflows, which make it look really cool to me. And the wave really lets you think about those old Japanese paintings, I think. That's really cool too. Alright. We have our first transforming card, and this one is the first one. This one is the kind of day card, or the front card that you will see in your hand anyways. Enduring Angel for 5 mana, you play them. Then you have a 5 mana 3/3 with flying and double strike. So that's pretty good, but you also have hexproof, which is also pretty good, but well, against curses it's really cool. It really stops those. If your life total would be reduced to 0 or less, instead transform the angel and your life total becomes 3. Then if Enduring Angel didn't transform this way, you lose the game. So if you transform them, or your opponent transforms them in a different way, you lose the game. It's not even, you can't do that, no, you lose the game. Okay. But then, after you would almost have died, you will get 3 life back. So almost as if she hits your opponent with lifelink. But then Angelic Enforcer, she becomes really angry and she starts slaying the zombies or something. You still have hexproof, she still has flying, she loses double strike. Maybe because she swings so hard or something. Angelic Enforcer's power and toughness are equal to your life total, so she will start as a 3/3 as well. But then whenever she attacks, you may double your life total, so she will start by becoming a 6/6 or more if you have a life gain deck, so that's really cool. I think it's a good change for the life gain decks, which are so amazingly popular, let's say that. With the Heliod and only making +1 counters and making your creatures bigger doesn't feel like a life gain deck, but this really does. Like the potential of having so much life and never being able to be killed, never, at least stopping your opponent from winning. That feels like a life gain deck. It's not a nice way to play, it's not fun always, but it is cool. Unruly Mob, they are back. We have had these before, these mobs. This is a 2 mana human, it's multiple humans. And it starts as a 1/1, but whenever another creature you control dies, put a +1 counter on Unruly Mob. We survive the travails, killer angels, horrors from beyond the moon. Beyond the moon, they are in the moon. Now some big werewolves think they can scare us, let them try. I think they can scare you. You should be scared, because you know, well, I will tell that later, but you should be scared of the werewolves, actually. But these are not, because whenever someone dies, they will just become stronger anyways. Festival Crasher, that's me. No, that's not me. I won't crash your festival. I will only crash it. 2 mana creature devil, it's a 1/3. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, it gets +2/+0 until end of turn, so sort of prowess, but only aggressive. And they wear the Avacyn sign mockingly, which is so evil. So many candles, so many flammables, so little time. That's what they say. Pestilent Wolf, a 2 mana creature wolf, our first wolf of the set, which is weird. But they gain Death Touch until end of turn, so they can get Death Touch, and otherwise they are just a 2 mana 2/2. Wolves that feast on zombie flesh and survive carry the foul diseases of the dead wherever they roam. Ooh. So they need a little bit of mana to survive having bitten a zombie, but then they can more easily kill other creatures. But they were already supposed to kill creatures more quickly. And vampires don't get sick, so they probably won't have anything to do with this Death Touch, but okay. Snarling Wolf, a 1 mana wolf from Ilsegord, who we did a longer deep dive on. For 2 mana, Snarling Wolf gets +2/+2 until end of turn. Activate only once each turn, so it can become a 3/3. But still, it's not infinite, you can't kill your opponents with this very easily, but it's still scary and it makes them block it weirdly. Oh, thank you, the angels. Thank you, the angels. That's not what it says, but it's okay. It's not a werewolf, just a regular who... Oh, what? Okay, Bruno Ulvenwald guide. Last words. That's sad. It doesn't look like just a wolf. Maybe they have become so adjusted to these big wolves that they are not scared of the smaller ones anymore. But it still looks scary. I mean, don't underestimate this guy. This person. Howl of the Hunt. 3 mana. Okay, more werewolf cards, more wolf cards. Flash, enchant creature, already cool. When Howl of the Hunt enters the battlefield, if enchanted creature is a wolf or werewolf, untap that creature. So it's cool that, because these are like, we get a wolf and a wolf and werewolf enchantment. It's cool that you didn't know at this point that there were werewolves that were coming, but you felt them coming. You knew it from the flavor text already, and you knew, well, it was spoiled already, but you could have known it from the cards as well. But then the creature gets +2/+2 and has vigilance, which is a little bit weird for a flash thing. But I think the flash is more used to untap that creature, more like that. So it is sort of a flash vigilance actually. So yeah, it seems a little bit weird to have vigilance on a flash enchantment, but it does work like that because it still untaps the card. And also, Yosu also made a really cool art, I think, because the moon is not the usual moon. It's like more yellow. It's like more, it feels more dangerous or faded out. And I think that's the kind of vibe that they were going for, like the faded out, more old kind of horror. I mean, werewolves are classics. They're really old stories that are told and have been told for like thousands of years. So I think it's cool that they made these moon elements so old feeling, or maybe mystic even. Contortionist Troop, green and an X mana human creature that enters the battlefield with X +1 counts on it. So a little bit of a ramp card, which feels weird to have for a troop, but we saw before that green has a little bit of a theme with humans becoming bigger the more they party or the more they come together, let's say it like that. But they are also sort of witches. They are in a coven, which means that at the beginning of your end step, if you control 3 or more creatures with different powers, you get an effect. In this case, put a +1 counter on target creature you control, so it doesn't have to be this one. And it's not sharing it, it's just giving it. So maybe the creatures look at this troop and they think, wow, those are cool, and then they are more strong because of that, something like that. Welcome to the greatest show in Kashyyyk. And I think what's also important to note about this is that most of the big unovercomable horrors have been defeated, and now the humans are coming together and finally partying again. We had not seen this in the previous Innistrad sets that much. It was more the devils that were partying because of all the chaos that was going around. So I think that's cool too. That we can see why the humans are more happy. We can see why they come together and finally do weird stuff again. Galvanic Iteration, a 2-mana instant, which you are a little bit afraid of at this point. It's rare. When you cast your next instant or sorcery spell this turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Not that good. It has flashback, so you can use it again. No. I was thinking, can you use this on itself? But no, I don't think so. That would be a little bit overpowered, because then you instantly have an infinite loop. No, but it can't do that because it hasn't gone into the graveyard yet. And it would also be weird. I don't think you can do that. But still, you can use another spell twice more for 2 mana. Well, we will have to see later how strong this is because of other big spells that you could use. So let's see. Light Up the Night, here we are. An X and a red Chandra spell. It's not really a Chandra spell, but it has Chandra on it, and she is setting zombies aflame. So Kaya was fighting the ghost and she is fighting the zombies. Light Up the Night deals X damage to any target, so a fireball in a way. It deals X plus 1 damage instead if that target is a creature or a planeswalker. So it may be any target, but we saw the devil before that wanted to attack face. Chandra wants to attack creatures and planeswalkers, and then she becomes stronger. But is there really a planeswalker that she has to defeat here? Maybe Arlene Gort or something, but that's a little bit weird then. She has flashback for 4. Remove X loyalty counters, so it's a different type of X from among planeswalkers you control, so it can be any one of them. So really strong with the Nissa card, for example. If you cast this spell this way, X can't be 0. Okay. Why would you want to do that? Maybe you want to kill your planeswalker, something like that. No, because then it shouldn't be 0. Why would you want it to be 0? Maybe because you have damage, ways to make your damage stronger or something like that. Huh. It feels like this is made differently for another card into the future, but... But that's interesting. You can use your... Because Chandra, of course, has the ability to take power from other planeswalkers and make more fire around her. We have seen that on Zendikar before. So maybe that's something that will happen here as well. Maybe she will steal some energy from other planeswalkers here as well. And she looks cool. That's important too. And it's at least a fireball, so that's already a pretty cool card in my opinion. We have Arlene Gort and all of her different... she had 3 different types of cards, which is a lot. But let's look at the abilities first. She's a 4-mana planeswalker, where she is the first one that we see with Daybound and Nightbound. But how it works is if you play one, you will get a token of Daybound at first. If a player casts no spell during their own turn, it becomes night next turn, so it will flip. It will become the night token, and then you will have all your creatures with Daybound become Nightbound creatures. So what she does, her Daybound part lets you -3 create two green wolf tokens. So that's good defense. Legit that she's worse than Garrick because he was 6 or something. Until your next turn, her +1 says that you may cast creature spells as though they had flash, and each creature you control enters the battlefield with an additional +1 counter on it. So really showing that she is a wolf pack leader and that she wants to hunt with them, to surprise other creatures with them, and to make them stronger too. And when she transforms, she becomes more wild. We can see that in the way that she is more connected with nature, and that she can +2 to get 2 wild mana as well, added to your mana pool. And for 0, she can become a wolf herself. So here we see that she is less about her pack and more about attacking herself, which is exactly like a werewolf should be. So I think that's logical, a little bit lame. In my opinion, she is the forefront planeswalker here, and she doesn't feel that overpowered. But actually maybe they wanted to not have an overpowered planeswalker, but I feel like they did. She could be stronger in my opinion if we look at the other planeswalkers. But her three types of arts is, one is this really cool type of art where it's more faded away, more scarred almost, more wild, more furious, like the Moon's Fury part. Here we have a little bit of a softer type of art from Eric Deschamps, where we focus on her being an Ephesinian priest and playing with the wolf, apparently, which was not really endorsed, but it looks cool. And then maybe for the first time turning into a wolf, because here she is really slight, she's really small. And later on we can see that she becomes a lot stronger as well in her shoulders, but also in her wolf form. So that's a cool transformation here as well in her own human form. But yeah, I don't really get it. I think it should be that she can gather more energy, more loyalty counters in her wolf form. Like she has a +2, and then you can more easily create more wolves because they have gained respect for you. I think it's a cool flavor. We will have to see if this is really strong. I mean, 2/2s are never bad. But I just hope that werewolves will be strong in their own set. Beloved Beggar and Generous Soul, another one of these flip cards. But in this case, it's like this. You have a 2-mana 0/4 to defend with, and your opponent will not want to kill it, really. Because they have a disturb cost. You may cast this card from your graveyard, transformed for its disturb cost. So it's a little bit like the Amonkhet cards that come back after they have died. The Embalm cards and the other ones that come back as 4/4s. This one also comes back as a 4/4 thematically for 6 mana. So let's just see what that is. So 4 Flying Vigilance. A really strong attacker all of a sudden. It's a Generous Soul that really wants to attack apparently. If Generous Soul would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead, so you can't keep returning it like this. Would be a little bit weird too. I mean, then you can keep doing the 6 mana thing and get it back, but 6 mana for a 4/4 Flying Vigilance. That you have to first let this die, or get it into the graveyard at least. But I think it's cool. Anyways, let's look at the flavor first. Charity is rare on Innistrad, but kindness is always repaid. Even if they won't become rich in their own life, they will become a generous soul. As long as evil threatens his town, the blessed sleep can wait. So that's how generous he is. He just protects his friends who have helped the dude in his life. That's a nice story. So yeah, that's a nice story. I like the flavor. I think it's a little bit overcosted for a 4/4 Flying Vigilance. I mean, it's really strong to have a Flying Vigilance 4/4. But 6 mana is a lot. I mean, that should be game winning. And it will be in draft, and it's an uncommon. So maybe it should be more focused on that format, I guess. Jadar, Ghoul Color of Nephalia, is a dude, a 2 mana ravenous dude with the weird mask on his face here. I think they really tried to force some insanity into these other arts. So that's cool that they made it like that. Rise, my pretty thing. Why not in the river when you can surf at my bidding? Why rot in the river, sorry. Why not in the river when you can do my bidding? At the beginning of your end step, if you control no creatures with Decade, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decade. So we have seen the other card, the 1 mana card that becomes stronger with every zombie you put into the battlefield. So if you have this out as well, it will grow every end step, because you can just attack with the zombie and then let it die. You can let all your Decade zombies die, and this one wants you to do it because you will get the token every time you do that. But if they have anything from a 2-3, that becomes pretty useless on its own. So you will need more. You will need a lot of help if you are going to do it like that. But I think it's cool that they made this mechanically as well, because they really want to force you to want to sacrifice your decayed creatures. They want them to decay really fast, and it doesn't do it on its own, but it does do it because you want them to die. So that's the cool part about that. Okay. We have another one that transforms into a werewolf this time again. Our second werewolf only, I think. Tavern Ruffian. So a dude that's really strong and wants to beat others in pressing arms, I guess. Later on, he smashes through the table when he maybe lost against this smaller dude. She dispatched every... Oh, sorry, it's a woman, sorry. She dispatched every challenger with a sickening snap of bone. So she already won, but with every arm inside broken, she turned her attention to the furniture. Yeah, because those should be strong too, I guess. But this 4 mana 2/5 that becomes eventually just a 4 mana 6/5, which is really strong. 4 mana 6/5 is really strong in attacking, at least. And also in defending, by the way, because 5 toughness is not nothing at all. So yeah, cool. And I think the story about these other types of cards is that they told stories about this woman who beat everyone, and then they made a caricature out of it in their stories. So they made them more scary in their own stories, scaring more people that way. Is the string buffering? It says good connection. Let's see. Seems like it should work. Okay, it's working again. Okay, cool. Yeah, but I think that's a cool flavor. Let's look at it like that in the coming cards as well. Bait Hook Angler, which turns into Hook Haunt Drifter. Hook Haunt Drifter. Sorry. But another one of the spirit cards. So again, okay. So it says that it should be buffered. Okay, weird. Why is it not receiving enough video? Maybe we need a break soon or something. I'm not sure. Like overheating? No, not either. Maybe it will come back. But okay. Bait Hook Angler is a dude that's fishing, but they are fishing for 2 big fish. For fishes that are too big. Geor was determined to stay out until he got a bite from something big. So when this 2/1 dies, it can come back as a 1/2 flying spirit. Not good on its own, but no, not good on its own. Good at all. Even in death, he casts out his lines, forever fishing for reasons long forgotten. Sad. Candlelit Cavalry. So humans again. A little bit of the witch stuff again, because they are in a coven and they take their protectors with them, their candle protectors. 5 mana human knight, which is a 5/5, which is a good stat line. With coven at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you can coven, let's just say that, it gains trample until end of turn. Okay, so it wants to be, the witches want to be aggressive this time around. I think that's not thematic at all, but I guess seeing as they are humans, that's fine. On this night, the dark will fear us. Oh, and it also works because it's a very unique power to have 5 power. Most of the other ones will be less strong, so it might be the last piece of different power that you need. Candle trap, so these knights took candles with them, and maybe this is one of the things that you can do with it. It's a 1 mana enchantment that can force a creature to not be able to attack, they can only defend, and that you may prevent all combat damage that would be dealt by the enchanted creature. So it just becomes a wall. Then with Coven you can sacrifice the trap and exile enchanted creature. But you can only do it when you have the Coven enabled. So that's cool. That you can eventually kill it as well. You don't have to have it as a wall the whole time. Might of the Old Ways. So this is just a might spell, I guess, a +2/+2. But also if you have Coven, then you may draw a card as well. So it can be a cantrip. It's just a 2/2/2. Most of these spells are, in my opinion, better as a 3/3. But it might be just a thing. In a set with really big creatures, this becomes better because if everyone has big creatures, you will be able to blow out more other big creatures with this. So it becomes more valuable. Brimming with power from their disrupted ritual, the Dawnheart witches lashed out at the werewolf intruders. So don't interrupt these people at all. Not in their sleep, not in their practice. Brutal Cathar and Moonrage Brute are a human soldier werewolf that turns into just a werewolf. They lose their humanity in a way. 3 mana 2/2. When this creature ends the battlefield or transforms, exile target creature an opponent controls until this creature leaves the battlefield. Also showing us, I think, that when they transform they don't leave the battlefield. I don't think they do. So then you can keep simulating more creatures under this Cathar, and then it becomes a good attacker as well that will have ward, so they will want to remove this at some point to get their creatures back, and then they will have to pay 3 life to make it survive at least. Another land cycle with this time it ends the battlefield tapped unless you control 2 or more lands. So you need to get 2 lands and then you can have this come in untapped. It's the flavor, I think, is like lost lands, something like that. Lands that have been forgotten for some reason. We have Deserted Beach and Unnatural Frost, made them once peaceful boardwalk, deceptively treacherous. So you can be swept away with water or be frozen by some spirits, I think. We have a Shipwreck Marsh, which says the bones of doomed ships jut out from the muck while the bones of their sailors molder below. Sounds awful. We have Rockfall Vale. Cries of panic echo along Keswick's narrow ravines as howlbacks herd their prey. We have Haunted Ridge, also deserted, swirling eddies of ash hide, crumbling cliffs, treacherous drops, and the slavering maws of unknown evils. Again, the unknown evils. And we have Overgrown Farmland, where no one dares to tread. A few weed-choked gourd patches are all that remain of the proud, thriving farms that once blanketed the province. Okay, so these are all abandoned lands that only get to untap really quickly if you have more lands already. Let's skip this song. And they have their different sides as well, which look really cool, especially Haunted Ridge. It did look cool before, but this sun is really cool in my opinion. And Deserted Beach as well. It looks peaceful, but it really is not. Yeah, they all look more peaceful in these arts, I think, than these previous ones. Yeah, just cool art. We will look at these further later. champion of the Parish we have already seen, but this is a different art from Darken, where he has his bloodied sword, but also in this city, having just a zombie walking around that's apparently really strong is extra scary for this buy a box promo. We have our Puppets Stitcher, which is my greatest sphere puppets. These look awful as well. But it's a human wizard for 3 mana, 2/3, mythic, from Simon Dominic, who made this awful art. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, you can create a 2/2 black zombie creature token with the gate. So you can get a lot of zombies with the Storm deck that you can only use to attack once at the beginning of your upkeep, but you can defend with them really well. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 3 or more creature tokens, so zombies as well, you may transform Puppet Stitcher. Oh, that's interesting. Because Puppet Factory, which is the transformed part, says creature tokens you control lose all abilities and have base power and toughness 3/3. So he makes them, the tokens, into puppets. So all of your Strixhaven, Cutie mascots will become puppets for the Stitcher. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you may transform Puppet Factory. So you may turn it back into Puppet Stitcher to get more black zombie creature tokens. But then you will have to wait a turn before you can eternalize them again. So you will not be able to attack with them, but you can defend with them again. Oh, you can't defend with them because they can't block as well. I'm sorry, I was lying. You can't defend with them, which makes this more approachable of a card. But it's still a mythic, and that's because of the Puppet Factory making all these zombies, well, not decaying anymore. They have been preserved, and these zombie puppets can now be used to attack and defend as well. Which is way better. It may have been a mistake to give them minds of their own, and now they are overrunning the Stitcher himself. I think. We have Sigarda, Champion of Light, which is a 4 mana angel that is more like a human tribal angel, which is thematic because she is the last one standing with the humans. She is a 4/4 flying trample angel that gives humans you control +1/+1, and her coven says that whenever she attacks, you may look at the top 5 cards of your library, you may reveal a human creature card from among them and put it into your hand. So she also works really well with... Is she still in the set, in the rotation, Winota? Ikoria's out, I think. Oh no, she doesn't work. Okay. Which is better, but it does work like this in Historic, I guess. But in this case, I have to say, I mostly like the art from NC Winters, because you can see here as well, right? The staff and which is a sort of scythe as well. It doesn't really befit an angel in a way. Like, they should be holy, but we know that they attack a lot, but they shouldn't just fly here fighting. So I think what Howard Leon did well here is to make them flying upwards, not attacking, not aggressive, more defending, and with these flying protective candles around them. So they are more about protection, we can see that there. But in the art, we don't see their stance, so they could be aggressive, but we can feel they are not, because we see the plants around them, we see their eyes, which are empty, but they feel compassionate because of the way her face is so calm. And then the staff has changed into, which it already is, but has changed into more of a bird type shape, which I really like. I think that's appropriate, and it feels more calm and more natural this way. Secrets of the Key, a 1 mana instant investigate. So investigate is back for the first time, or we see it for the first time. If this spell was cast from a graveyard, investigate twice instead, and you can do that by paying 4 for its flashback. So basically, draw 3 for 5 mana, plus 6 for 11 mana. That doesn't seem good, but the way this plays, of course, is you play it for 1 mana, then you have an artifact that you can sometime later pay 2 mana for. So if you have a lot of counters, you can keep your mana up way better because you will always have more advantage. So that's why it's good. And also we have seen before that blue wants to play with a lot of sorcery, so a 1 mana instant is really good. As Sigarda and Sorin battled, so we know that Sigarda will battle Sorin, Arlene and Teferi recovered the key from the Markov Catacombs. Okay, we know the story already. Cool. We have Tovalar, the Midnight Scourge, which we know already that was the one that changed Arlene Gort, which makes him really strong. But I think he's a little bit weird. So let's first look at the abilities. It's a 3 mana human werewolf that starts as a 3/3. Whenever a wolf or werewolf you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card. So sort of tribal Toski in that way. And then at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 3 or more wolves and or werewolves, it becomes night. So it becomes more easy to let it become night with Tovalar, and then transform any number of human werewolves you control. Of human werewolf, so that means because the flip side is not a human werewolf, right? So I don't think that works. It only works from human to werewolf. I think that's the thing. Whenever a wolf or werewolf you control deals combat damage to a player, draw a card, so it still has this one. But then also target wolf, so not only itself, but you control gains plus X plus O and gains trample until end of turn, so it can grow 1 wolf or werewolf for a lot. Not the best, but it is a mana sink. Again, that's pretty good. But we can see in this art from Michael that he is really badass. He stands there really cool and strong, and in his other form we can see how, well, he has to crawl on 3 legs and this other one is holding a sword, so he can't put that down. But then it almost feels like a joke a little bit, but he's supposed to be the alpha werewolf of so many wolves. And then here we see him standing with his friends. They're waiting for him to transform or something, and here we see him standing with his sword raised, but we know that he can't really run that fast and his friends are around them, and it just doesn't look that cool anymore. Arrogant Outlaw, a 3 mana vampire noble. When it enters the battlefield, if an opponent lost life this turn, each opponent loses 2 life again and you gain 2 life. So he really likes your opponent to have pain. The D-based, so not based, but D-based. Remnants of the Falcon Wrath bloodline prowl the passes near their ruined castle. Okay, so we know of the vampires that some of the houses, some of the clans have been almost burned to ashes, and we can see that here as well. And he is arrogant, but he shouldn't be because his clan is so weak at this moment. We can see that he has a bloodied shirt, he has no stance, no strong part, but that's the Falcon Wrath thing. They like to fight, they like to be aggressive, and they like to think they are the strongest. And they just prowl right now. They're almost like werewolves. So it's cool to see in this set that we see vampires, but they are meant to be weak. They are meant to be a little bit down talked upon, not respected. Defenestrate is a 3 mana instant, destroy target creature without flying, so just not birds, because birds can fly. So if you fall out of a window and you are a bird, you are probably pretty much okay. The chaplain would perhaps have found some small comfort had he known that the replacement window would be named in his honor. So he dies falling out of this window, but the window he fell through will be called after this man. Sad. But again, we had the 2 mana kill spell, we have a 3 mana kill spell that almost kills anything. So that's really strong for black. Removal in black, always strong, but this set, almost unconditional. Dawnheart Rejuvenator, a 4 mana human warlock, which is a 2/4, so good for defending. And when it ends the battlefield, you gain 3 life, so even better for defending. And it also lets you add, and it also has a mana dork for any color. 4 mana dork, not really good. As a defending creature, it's okay, but I think it's meant to do both a little bit to balance out your attacks. Wherever there is life, there is power for one who knows the old ways. So the old ways again. We have seen it before, giving +2/+2. Now it gains you 3 lives. So I don't think the old ways are that strong from these 2 cards. But Brimstone Vandal, a 3 mana devil with menace. It's a 2/3 that can attack in really well. If it's neither day or night, it becomes day. Not even night, as Brimstone Vandal enters the battlefield. Whenever day becomes night, or night becomes day, Brimstone Vandal deals 1 damage to each opponent. So this thing enters the battlefield and makes it day. It likes to be around in the daylight, apparently. Maybe he likes other people to see that he is destroying their signs. Maybe that's it. That could be cool. Maybe they just want to show other people that their signs are useless. We have seen that before as well with the one that wears one as a hat. Maybe that's their goal. Maybe that's the devil's goals. There's not as much chaos, so maybe they are showing people that these signs are now useless. Something like that. Not something like that, that's the truth and you can't tell me otherwise. Ominous Roost, maybe a kind of Falcon Wrath thing here. A 3 mana enchantment. When it enters the battlefield or whenever you cast a spell from your graveyard, which is, so a lot of flashback themes here. Create a 1/1 blue bird creature token with flying, and this creature can block only creatures with flying. But it's not meant to block, it's meant to attack. Probably. 1 raven is a bad omen, 2 are a curse. Oh, we have seen this before. With the also raven cards. I don't know what this is, but it can't be good. Cool that they returned this. This was a really old card, I think. And also it was in one of the silver bordered sets. But now it's an enchantment. So it becomes even more scary because they start as 1, then turn to 4, and then turn to many. Stormrider Spirit, which is not really faded out, but I found this and I thought it was really thematic for Spirit. It's a 5 mana 3/3 with flash and flying, so meant to kill other spirits for some reason. The wary travelers mistook the flickering lights for a candle guide, pointing the way to Harvest Tide. We'll explain these later. And then their relief turned to terror as lightning lit the sky. So this one spirit is a Storm Rider spirit. And we know that these candle guides, so which we have seen before, can like hold down werewolves, and they help witches and stuff like that. So if you have these candles, you can lure in humans and then hunt them, which this one likes to do. Famished for Forager. So again, a little bit of a fling towards vampires. A 4 mana vampire that's sitting on a forge. And they don't look that composed anymore. These are not noble vampires. They are looking for blood and they seem desperate. It's a 4 mana 4/3. Furious to find the workshop empty, the starving vampires flew into frenzy. So they are starving, they are bad. We see this and we know that werewolves should at least feel superior. And when it ends the battlefield, if an opponent lost life this turn, add 3 red mana, so it becomes only a 1 mana 4/3 that way, which is really strong. And you may loot for 3 mana, so I think this is really strong. You can always use the 3 mana that you make, and otherwise you might play like 2 creatures and one of them is maybe smaller or something like that. It won't really ramp you very easily, at least, and not in this set. But it makes it feel cheaper and it makes it feel way more aggressive to make 2 zombies all of a sudden. And I think that is reflected in the art as well from Lorenzo Mastroianni. So that's cool. We have another 2 versions of Village Watch, which is a Daybound Haste 4/3, that's it. You have my word, you'll see no wolf attacks while we're around. And that is because when they are not around, they are werewolves themselves. And then all wolves and werewolves have haste. So not only these human werewolves, but all of them. And this becomes a 5/4, so pretty big, but it's still a 5 mana card that you played. With no guards to be seen, the cobbled streets of Guts stuff echoed with howls. So yeah, we knew that. But the flavor often does this with werewolves. We see how they lie against their villagers. We see how they work in the village as protectors of the village or like big farmers. And then later they turn into werewolves and betray their own friends. They do this all the time. Foul Play is a 2 mana sorcery that can also destroy a target creature with power 2 or less this time, so a little bit restricted. But it also lets you investigate making it stronger again. So 3 pieces of removal in black that are pretty strong. The evidence was overwhelming. Tovalar's Howl Pack was getting bolder, smarter and stronger. So Tovalar is the werewolf we saw before that is wearing a sword in his hand. Yeah, but investigating werewolves is an easy task. You can see that they murdered a lot of people and broke windows and stuff. So I think the investigate tokens should reflect that. Heirloom Mirror is the first part of this flipping card. It's a 2 mana artifact with an Enchester apparently sitting in the window. Speak my name thrice and be rewarded. Well done, young fool, well done. Now you're for your reward. What will be their reward? The mirror, you can tap it for 1 mana and pay 1 life and discard a card, draw a card, mill a card, and then put a ritual counter on Heirloom Mirror. So you loot 1 card, you pay a life, and you mill a card, and you pay 1 mana, and you have to tap it to eventually make a demon out of it. But then you have to only do this 3 times, and you can transform this mirror into a 4/4 flying demon, which does not seem good yet, but exile target creature card from a graveyard and put a +1 counter on Inherited Fiend. Which is cool, actually, thinking about it, because you have sacrificed your friends, your other people, other villagers. You have put them into the graveyard by milling. Maybe you were forgetting your ancestors because of this mirror whispering sweet words in your ear. And now that same demon will eat your ancestors from the ground and exile them from a graveyard, and then it will become stronger. I think that's the flavor. And that's his gift. Geist Flame Reservoir. It's a 3 mana artifact. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a charge counter on Geist Flame Reservoir. So another Storm Matters, literally and figuratively, card, artifact this time. For 2 mana you may remove any number of charge counters from Geist Flame Reservoir. It deals that much damage to any target. That's pretty strong in a focus deck. And you may exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. So it will always be useful as impulsive card draw. But otherwise you might use this as a finisher, as a kill spell. So this is a really, really good card. It is a rare, so it will not be dictating Red's draft vibes, but it is a cool card to have in many other decks, at least. Then we have Thermal Alchemist, which we already knew. But it's a 2-mana defender, 0/3, that can tap for 1 to, or that can tap for free to deal 1 damage to each opponent. So, and becomes really easy to kill them because you can untap this whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell. So another Storm Matters card again, the third one I think. So this is a really big theme in this set. We have Baneblade Scoundrel, which is the daybound part of this card, which is a thief with poisoned or mystical, magical darkness daggers, or 1 dagger, and it says when it becomes blocked, each creature blocking it, so all of them get -1/-1 until end of turn, so pretty hard to block actually for 4/3. Pretty strong, I think. And when it transforms, it becomes Baneclaw Marauder, and it still has this magic in his claws from the dagger before, or the poison on his claws from the daggers before. And this one says whenever it becomes blocked, still all blocking creatures get -1/-1. But also whenever a creature blocking Baneclaw Marauder dies, that creature's controller loses 1 life. So you really want them to block this dude. And if they don't, they will still lose 4 life. So pretty good. But I really like the art of this one actually. Not the special one per se, it's also cool, but really like the art. And again, this looks really cool. So you can see here they made the daybound like this and the nightbound like this, but the alternate arts, they are really cool every time. Like the sun is this, I don't know how to call it, like cock. And this moon is like around like that. But the art here is really cool. I really like this wolf, and it's skinny, it's still a rogue in a way, like how it looks. And people are running away, but he seems to have fun with it. And he is not in the shadows anymore, so we can see that the scoundrel was hiding behind this house, but now he doesn't have to hide anymore. And the same goes for this one. He's hiding here, he's not hiding here. Cool. Rite of Harmony is another 2-mana Celestia spell, the second instant. Whenever a creature or enchantment enters the battlefield under your control this turn, draw a card. So not the best, but pretty good, but it needs a lot of mana. And then flashback, you can cast this again for 4 mana, which is really hard because then after that paying that 4 mana, you will still need more small creatures to play. But Curse of Shaken Faith is a 2-mana aura curse, where you can enchant a player with these demons behind this holy wall, and she's praying, but the demons are already knocking on the glass window. Whenever enchanted player casts a spell other than the first spell they cast each turn, or copies a spell, okay, Curse of Shaken Faith deals 2 damage to them. So it doesn't stop them from playing their second spell. It's not like a white card that really stops them, but it deals damage to them, which is annoying. Even within the chapel's hallowed halls, the devil's laughter pierced his prayers. Yeah, the devils are getting more bold. That's bold. Are getting more bold. That's what this card is trying to say, and the previous ones about devils tried to say it as well. Another type of bolt, Clear Shot. 3-mana instant, target creature you control gets +1/+1. It deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. So werewolves can use crossbow now, that's canon. As werewolf attacks increased, brutal weapons not seen since the travails were dusted off and put to work. So why didn't they use them when all other stuff were going down? It's always dangerous there, right? Why would you not use your weapons? Maybe it's because werewolves are bigger or something like that, I think. But yeah, it feels like the set is trying to say that humans can be more relaxed right now, but they also need to use their weapons again, something. We have Gisa, Glorious Resurrector, which got a lot of hate. Why did she get a lot of hate? Why did the art get a lot of hate? this one. Only because she is not sexy or something. That was what people were saying. Why is she not sexy, first of all? I mean, she's not sexy, but she is still like looking good, maybe a little bit crazy, but we like that, right? We like crazy. But okay, it's a 4 mana 4/4, already pretty good. It's rare. If a creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead, which already makes you think, what will we do with the exiled card? But at the beginning of your upkeep, you may put all creatures that died from your opponent onto the battlefield under your control, and they gain negate, meaning you can block with them, but you can attack with them once. And you can just let them stay there as your puppets and let them stay around you, like you can see in this art, and let them help you that way. And like, you may not think that she is sexy, but the zombies, they really think she is sexy. We can see that they all simp for her. See, all of them simping, and here they try to touch her, but she's just laughing about them. So you can say that she is not sexy, but the zombies do think so. Here we have another simp. It's Hobbling Simp. It's a 3 mana simp, 2/2 with Death Touch. When Hobbling Simp dies, create a 2/2 black simp creature token with the gate. I see someone tried to stop you, my pet. How delightful. Why is that delightful that the guy stepped into a trap? How delightful. She's really mean against her zombies. Maybe... No, I don't know. Maybe she's become more dark or something. Even more dark. Dissipate is a 3 mana instant with a spirit attacking person. I don't know, is it a man? Morning light, chase away the fears of night. Is a children's rhyme. So, in our world, on Earth, we try to scare children with our rhymes, but on Innistrad, people try to, please, don't cry again this night. But they should cry because there are ghosts in their house. But the 3 mana Dissipate gives you light through your window. It lets you counter target spell. If that spell is counted this way, you may exile it instead of putting it into its owner's graveyard. So if a card that could become a spirit then it can't anymore because of this counter spell. Blade Stitched Scab, a 2 mana zombie soldier. The surviving militia members reunited with their fallen comrades sooner than they had hoped. Ah, cool. Because usually that would mean that the comrades had died themselves. But this time they were reunited because they were stitched together. Other zombies you control get +1/+0. It's just what it says. It's a zombie that makes zombies stronger to attack with, which of course plays into the theme of them just being attackers with the Decayed ability. They don't need the toughness, you won't defend with them, and they will die anyways after you have attacked with them. So they only really need the power, is the point. Lunar Frenzy is another red mana X spell, the second one we have seen. It's an instant. Target creature you control gets +X/+0 and gains first strike and trample until end of turn. So the fact that we have 2 cards that both let you pay X mana to deal more damage, basically, because it's first strike and trample, so your creature will deal damage to your opponent as well if you bump it enough. It's really cool. It means that you really want to ramp as well in these in any red color, which I think is cool. In the adrenaline fueled chaos, she hadn't even felt the bite. But on Innistrad, people don't turn into werewolves because of bites. Is what the Magic Mothership said. Maybe she was already turning, because people on Innistrad should be turned because of the howls of other werewolves, not because of bites. But maybe she was already turning and now she was bitten by another werewolf or something, and now she's turning as well, and maybe she's... I don't know. It's a wrong flavor. Kazakh Naturalist turns into Lord of the Ulvenwald. Whenever it attacks, add a red or a green. Until end of turn, you don't lose this mana as steps and phases end. So it gives you 1 mana, so it's a mana dork, but it only works when it attacks and it costs 2 mana, so that's really bad. Far from home, little one, I know this feeling. So it's a really bad card on the front side, but when it turns, it becomes a 3/3 and it's a lord. It's a lord, it's called the lord, but it's also a lord for wolves and werewolves. And it still gives you a red or a green mana, which is not too good, I don't think, but it still ramps you, and apparently ramp is important in these colors. Let's just say that. And the story about this naturalist is that he already liked wolves, but now he turns into a lord of the wolves. That's it. The Celestis. It's the last card before our break. The Celestis, and we will be back in like 5 minutes, but it's still a break. If it's neither day or night, it becomes day as the Celestis enters the battlefield. And it's a 3 mana rock. Also, you may tap 3. If it's night, it becomes day, and otherwise it becomes night. So you can really control the day and night cycle. And whenever day becomes night or night becomes day, you gain 1 life and you may draw a card if you do discard a card. So you do have to loot, but still it's a good ability to be able to change from day and night at will. In the story, the Celestis is the building, the abandoned building where the witches come together and do some stuff, but also where they are trying to make it eternally night. It's also this also fits with the flavor anyways, because you can change it into night, you can also change it back into day, but it also starts with day, but I think that's just because of the mechanics, and if it would start with night, that would be a little bit too strong. I think that's the case. I will zap to the next one and then get some water and coffee. Turn back down the music. Curse of Silence. Oh, this feels so much better. Enchant player. Enchant player for 1 mana. As it enters the battlefield, you may choose a card name. Spells with the chosen name, enchanted player cost 2 more to cast. Enchanted player cost 2 more to cast. Cost. Whenever enchanted player casts a spell with the chosen name, you may sacrifice Curse of Silence. If you do, draw a card. So maybe you already knew the player had this in their hand, or maybe it was their last time they would probably play this card. In a combo deck you will probably see all of them, and then you can sacrifice it to draw one. You do have to know what type of deck your opponent is playing, so you do need to be a little bit of a 5-head player. But I think that's cool. You need to be a little bit smart about it, and you can really hinder your opponent. But if you can know what your opponent has in their hand, this is way better. But it's still probably fine. And then Pithing Needle is another type of card that does the same and also feels the same. It's 1 mana. It ends the battlefield. You may choose a card name. But it doesn't stop your opponent from casting that spell. It only says that activated abilities of sources with the chosen name cannot be activated unless they're mana abilities. So what's better about this is the fact that that you can use this after a player used their card. Maybe it's a Planeswalker or something, and then you can shut that down. Here we see a human, like maybe a sort of witch or a rogue or something like that, or maybe it's Giza again, stopping a zombie from working with this needle. Flame Channeler and Embodiment of Flame is a card that wants you to damage someone, and then it transforms from being a 2/2 into being a 3/3 with whenever a spell you control deals damage again, you may put a flame counter on Embodiment of Flame, and then you may remove a flame counter from it to exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. So flames in Magic the Gathering often let you do impulsive draw. In this case, you do it because you learned about hurting others or something like that, about using your flames. Maybe that's the case. But let's read the flavor. At the edge of the night, on the cusp of winter, the allure of fire grows ever stronger. Ooh, it's almost night. It's wintry. Coldness grips the fire in my heart. The allure of fire grows ever stronger. Never again would she fear the dusk. Never again would she fear the cold. Never again could winter touch her. Something like that. Gavin Dungard. So Dungard is a little bit of a new name in my opinion, or at least I think so. It's not really an opinion. A 3-mana human soldier that's a 3/3, which has Ward 1. So Ward again, it becomes really evergreen, and I think they said that it would be. If it's neither day or night, it becomes day as Gavin Dungard enters the battlefield. And whenever day becomes night or night becomes day, look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card with mana value 3 or less from among them and put it into your hand. Really strong thing to have with the Celestia vibes, where you really want a lot of creatures to be able to play them, and you want them to be small creatures as well. And these can find other Gavin Dungards, which is cool because you can stack them. It's not a legendary or anything. So yeah, you can get a lot of card draw out of these, I think, and it really snowballs out of control, which I like. I think this will be a strong card to play with in the more limited formats at least. Sarith, the Viper's Fang, is a snake lady or man. No, it's a lady. It's a 3/4 and other tapped creatures you control have Death Touch. Which means when they attack, they will have Death Touch because you won't really be blocking with tapped creatures anytime soon. But maybe you use them to deal damage. Have we seen that before? Yeah, we have. So if you are playing... yeah, we have. If you are playing red and green, you can... this is 65. Let's go back to the dude. Here. You can play this as well, and this one deals 1 damage, so it taps it, and then it deals 2 damage, I think. Right? It's after that, and then, because you have this, you can... Oh no, it's against opponents only. Okay, we don't have a card that does that, but at least it also gives your untapped creatures you control have hexproof, which is really strong anyways. Your opponent will not want to defend against these creatures, and you can protect your creatures with hexproof, but you can also untap them, which is interesting, for 1 mana and tapping Seraph. And that's interesting because if you attack with a creature and it has Death Touch, maybe your opponent blocks it, then maybe that big creature would die, but maybe your creature would die, and maybe you don't want your creature to die, so maybe you untap it to give it hexproof because of the removal that your opponent played, and now you won't kill their creature anymore. So that's an interesting play pattern, and might make some make some weird choices. But again, 4 mana green creatures are really strong for some reason, which is weird because you can play them really soon. Devoted Gravekeeper turns into Departed Soulkeeper, another spirit card. This is white-blue, showing us that spirits are probably in white-blue, and the human passive is a 2/1 with Disturb Tree to turn it into the Departed Soulkeeper. The Gravekeeper lets you mill 2 cards when it enters the battlefield, which is important in an Innistrad set. And whenever you cast a spell from your graveyard, so with the flashback thing, tap target creature you don't control. So that's already really strong, and your opponent might want to kill this because they think it's annoying that you are tapping their creatures. But then it turns into this sort of Griffin Rider, how do you say Oyevar in English? Stork? No, that's such a weird... Stork? Why would you call anything a stork? But okay. It can only block creatures with flying, just like the ravens from before. And if Departed Soulkeeper would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead, which all these spirits seem to have. Flying 3/1 is not as impressive, I think, as the flashback card, I think. So your opponent might want to kill this, but they will have a Soulkeeper coming back at them. So they will have a 3/1 that will be attacking them because they can probably not block very well. So cool. Vampire Socialite is a 2 mana vampire noble with menace. It's a 2/2, so that is already pretty okay. I mean, you can attack with it pretty well. And here we see our first vampire that is not hungry or deranged. When it enters the battlefield, if an opponent lost life this turn, put a +1 counter on each other vampire you control. So already vampire tribal in this set. As long as an opponent lost life this turn, each other vampire you control enters the battlefield with an additional +1 counter on it. So while it's on the battlefield, you will still make your vampire stronger. As we have seen before, you will want to play a lot of vampires in succession. The art is really cool. Susanne Helmich, or Helmai, I think, if you would say it in English. That's some really cool smoke. Maybe she appeared out of nowhere and everyone is already bowing. This dude is really taking it personal. So that's cool. Graveyard Trespasser and Graveyard Glutton. It's a thing where someone trespasses on a graveyard and then they start eating the corpses. The human part is ward discard a card, so your opponent needs to be able to discard a card to target this. And whenever it ends the battlefield or attacks, exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard, so it's already exiling from a graveyard. If a creature card was exiled this way, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. When it transforms, it's a 3/3 already for 3 mana, which is wow. Black is really the strongest card in this set. Strongest color in this set, it feels like, to me, or maybe green. Whenever the Graveyard Glutton enters the battlefield or attacks, you may exile up to 2 target cards from graveyards. So, saying that the human part was already eating corpses. For each creature card exiled this way, each opponent still loses 1 life and you still gain 1 life. So it still wants you to attack a lot and still wants to have a lot of creatures or cards. Cards in the graveyard, and have your opponent do that as well. I mean, maybe you want them to target the card so that they can discard something and you can exile that card as well. So that's a little bit of synergy with itself, which I like. In this case, again, I think I like the normal arts a little bit better. Not because these are bad or anything, but because I like the style better. Just it's more real or something. It feels more emotional that way, I think. It's not real, it's not just a picture. But no. I have a little bit of technical issues here. Go away. You either come to me or you don't come at all. Faithful Mending is a 2-mana instant, which is also really cool. We can see the candle protectors here again. It's an instant that lets you gain 2 life instead of nothing. You then draw 2 cards and then discard 2 cards. So like Faithless Looting. This time it's Faithful Mending. And it also has flashback, so another flashback card that's really good. This archetype seems really strong to me, the flashback one. What has been looted can be restored. The church lives on within us. So we have seen the devils fighting against these symbols, but these... Sorry, but these people... still believe and they still fight for their church. Croaking Counterpart is a 3-mana, another flashback card, this time not in blue and white. This one lets you create a token that's a copy of target non-frog creature, except it's a 1/1 green frog. But it's still a copy, so it will still be the other card. So that's a strong card to have. I mean, it's a 1/1, but it's still strong. There have been stronger types of things that do this, but for a frog tribal, this is a glorious day. And not because you can transform your own creatures, but because you can still target your opponent's creatures, but because you can also target all your opponent's creatures if you want. So Unnatural Growth is a 5-mana enchantment that says at the beginning of each combat, double the power and toughness of each creature you control until end of turn. Green again, really strong, really chunky, really bonky. Chunky, bonky, green, I would say. Everyone is running away from this wolf that's Svedlin Valen of Mate because this one grew so unnaturally big. And they are running, but it's really useless because if you think about how fast a werewolf is, and if it's this big, it will probably catch up to you. I mean, you probably have no chance at all. No chance at all. See, I can be American. Sludge Monster is a 5-mana creature horror. It's a 5/5, so a big 5-mana creature. Tracking it isn't the hard part. No, you will probably find it, as it's eating everything and it's a horror that's so big. And whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, you may put a slime counter on up to 1 other target creature. I would prefer to say you can slime 1 creature. Non-horror creatures with slime counters on them lose all abilities and have base power and toughness 2/2. So whenever this enters the battlefield or when it attacks, you can almost neutralize another creature. That's really strong. It's a sort of Oko, but better. Diagraph Rebirth is a 5-mana sorcery that says this spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature that died this turn, and then return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So we can see her really having fun in this set. But then also it has flashback again, and this still counts for the flashback cost. And then you can return another target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, by the way. I think this is one of the best reanimation cards that we have seen lately, actually. Because it can become 2 mana, you can use it again, it could still become 2 mana by then. So yeah, I think that's really strong. Flesh Taker is a 2 mana human assassin. That's a human, not a cow. It's just a human wearing a cow mask. Whenever you sacrifice another creature, you gain 1 life and scry 1. So it wants you to sacrifice creatures, it wants to sacrifice creatures itself. Because when you do that, it gets +2/+2 itself as well. So it becomes really big and strong. But also you scry 1, which is really good, but also you gain life. So it will still gain you value because you will probably get something important next time. So we have seen the 3 mana one from Theros being really good because it was no mana to play. But this one also makes itself stronger, so pretty good. A Soulless Husk of Endless Hunger. This cow will eat everything. And if you have seen the movie, I think it's called Grass or something. Wait. In the Tall Grass, you know how scary this can be. Won't say anything else. Ghoul Caller's Harvest, a 2 mana sorcery, which lets you create X 2/2 black zombie creature tokens with Decayed. Look at how awful these hounds and this horse, these hounds are and this horse is. Where X is half the creatures of half the number of creature cards in your graveyard rounded up. So if you have 1, you will still get 1. If you have 3, you will still get 2. And you can use this twice, which won't make itself stronger, but it's still repeatable. I think that's pretty strong. You will want to mill a lot in this set, like I said, so you will pick those cards anyways. And the 2 mana card for 2/2 zombies with Decayed is still pretty strong because that is really aggressive. Then we have Lisa, the other archangel of this set, I believe, which has been forgotten. RIP. 5 mana, again, flying lifelink, again with more white mana than the other color, and this time it's black instead of green. Flying lifelink 4/5, so pretty strong, pretty Orzhov, it already feels like that. If a creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead, really strong. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, return that card to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. So it's almost like a Phyrexian in a way, and then it gives you the effect doubly, and it sort of makes the effect of the opponent weaker. Your opponent will not get creatures into their graveyard, and you will get them back into your hand at the next end step. So yeah, really strong. Really strong. I think she is probably better than the other angel already. Maybe we will see more like these because there is still another set to go. Voldaron Ambershire, a 3 mana creature vampire archer, which looks a little bit pompous. He says gotcha, which is even more pompous, but here we see a vampire already killing a werewolf in the werewolf set. Preposterous. When it enters the battlefield, if an opponent lost life this turn, it deals X damage up to 1 target creature or planeswalker, where X is the number of vampires you control. Already vampire tribal? That's not fair, man. Defend the Celestis, so we can see that the werewolves, or some of the werewolves, because there are multiple packs of werewolves, is a 4 mana instant, but they also defend the witches apparently, and the Celestis, which can make it night forever, which werewolves like sometimes. The instant is for 4 mana. You may distribute 3+1 counts among 1, 2, or 3 target creatures you control, which is a witch card because witches want there to be multiple they want there to be 3 different powers on your battlefield. So you can really easily do that with this card. You will probably be able to make coven with the 3 creatures you already have on the battlefield. You can do that actually all the time with this card. And for werewolves it's cool because these want to grow bigger and they like +1 counters. Witch, werewolf and Cathar stood shoulder to shoulder around the sun gold lock at the center of the ritual, ready to stop Tovalar's assault or die trying. So we have seen in the story spotlights before that Arlene Gort's werewolves have left her, but here we see they also come back eventually to her in some ways. Maybe, yeah, well, this is wearing a sort of clothing like Arlene actually. Turn the Earth is a 1 mana instant with a cow again, second cow of the set. Choose up to 3 target cards in your graveyards. Not in your graveyards because you only have 1, but in graveyards. The owner of these cards shuffle them into their library. You gain 2 life and you can flashback it. It's not an expensive thing. I think it shouldn't be. Because it's not card advantage. It doesn't do anything for the board. It just makes draws sometimes worse. But you can do it twice and it does work with the flashback thing. The only thing is, I think the flashback thing has been in white-blue, or at least the payoff cards. So that's not an advantage. Maybe it's meant as graveyard hate actually. Because your opponent won't have it in their graveyard. So yeah, maybe that's the point. Maybe your opponent is trying to mill, but you can put those cards back into their library, and it's a sort of anti-graveyard thing. Maybe it's better than I thought. Maybe it could be really good actually in draft. Sure. As a little bit of a hate card. At least in your sideboard it would be fine, I think. Augur of... if you play that type of draft at least. Augur of Autumn is a 3 mana human druid, rare, which was also I think pretty good. Or really good. Again, green really good, and black was good as well. We can see that she is like foretelling the future probably. Here with their bones and feathers. Witch stuff, human druid, 2/3. You may look at the top card of your library anytime. Never useless. You may play lands from the top of your library. So that's pretty strong, but also if you have Coven, you may also cast creature spells from the top of your library. So you can almost cast anything you have from the top of your library in mono green at least. So yeah, impressive. I think that this might help you storm off really fast actually. So for a rare, really high in the pick order, that's one thing that's for sure. And you might even play this in some decks. I mean, it gives green card draw again, so that's always dangerous. Ooh, this one is blurred out a little bit. Corpse Cobble, it's a 2 mana instant as an additional cost to cast this spell. Sacrifice any number of creatures. So you have a lot of zombies, you can sacrifice them again. That's what this wants you to do. Create an XX blue and black zombie creature token with menace. So your maybe your zombies have become useless. Your opponent has a lot of 3/3s on the battlefield or something. You can sacrifice them and make a creature with menace that has the total power of the sacrificed creatures in its power and toughness. So it's not like you will sacrifice these zombies and only get 1 per zombie, but you will get 2 power and toughness per zombie. So you will really stack these zombies on top of each other and change the game. Also, this XX blue and black zombie creature token will not have decayed. And you can also flash it back again. Patrician Geist is a 3 mana spirit knight, which is a spirit lord. A flying spirit knight that gives your other spirits +1/+1. And it also makes the spirits you already have in your graveyard easier to get out of it. 1 mana easier to be exact. So really good lord actually. I think for the vampires and the spirits, we have seen more great lords than really spirits or vampires at all. So they might not be really overpowered, but still, it's these tribes already get a lot of love as well. So that's cool if you love them. I think it's less thematic. But anyways, Celestis Sanctifier is a 3-mana human cleric. Sorry. If it's neither day or night, day nor night even, it becomes day when she enters. Whenever day becomes night or night becomes day, so another white or green card that wants you to have it become day or night. So it works with the Celestis really well and works with the theme of the witches. Whenever day or night switches, look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one of them into your graveyard. So yeah, again, you want to have cards in your graveyard, so a little bit of selection for that is good as well. But also, you looked at them, but you didn't really draw them or anything, so you can put the other one back. So it's also card selection. So that's really cool, really good in this set, I think. So this is a common. I think it's a really good common. I mean, you won't do this all that much, but you might if someone else is playing something to make it day and night a lot as well. I mean, it might happen a lot. Candle Grove Witch is a really cool alternate art in this case, with how this looks and how poppy the dress looks with her face. And this sort of how do you say it, like antler coming out of it and being all fall like. But what she does is she is a 2-mana 2/2 with Coven, and when you have Coven, she gains flying until end of turn at the beginning of your combat. So flying 2/2 for 2 mana is pretty good already if you can get it. It's a little bit hard to get, so it might be a little bit of a late game thing. And her flavor says, like 1,000 candles fighting back the darkness, we are strongest when we stand together. It's a cool thing of her to say, because the witches use so many candles to defend themselves. So that's it's really cool that these candles are a theme to them. Gold Barrage is a 3-mana instant, destroy target creature with toughness 4 or greater. Also about candles. Of course, we have a little bit of the clap vibes here. Nice. But also Gold Barrage is a 3-mana instant, which says, one moment. Sorry, I had to write something now. 3-mana Gold Barrage is an instant that destroys target creature with toughness 4 or greater. So really chunky one. We have seen most of the big werewolves have 4 toughness, I think. So maybe that's why that was. Haida allowed herself a moment of satisfaction as she watched the beast fall, then turned to seek another foe. Oh, Haida is killing all the werewolves, but we haven't seen Haida yet. Who is Haida? It would be a long night. Who is Haida? Who is Haida? We have to find Haida. But that's cool. Not because of the card, but because I want to know who Haida is now. Ritual Guardian, a 3-mana human soldier with Coven. When you have Coven, at the beginning of combat on your turn, it gains lifelink. And it's a 3/2, so it can attack with lifelink, and then your opponent will want to block it, and maybe you can kill something in the early game or gain 3 life really easily. So better than you think. Like, life gain is not to be underestimated, because your opponent will not want it to happen. It's almost like a taunt. By ancient magics, by angel's grace, we will survive this night. So we can see the witches who do not want to be disturbed, and the Qatar is defending them. Don't know why he wants it to be night forever, but maybe he wants this thing to be over or something. A little bit sad. Hedge Witch's Mask is a really scary mask for 1 mana. We see the candles again. Artifact equipment for 2 mana, you may equip it, and equipped creature gets +1/+1. Not the best equipment on its own, like as a +1/+1, but that's logical because it's a mask, so how would it make you stronger? But also you can't be blocked by creatures with power 4 or greater, so it's a little bit of a werewolf deterrent, where you can easily attack through werewolves like this. And if you have a 3/3, this will become a 4/4, and then your opponent's 3 powered creatures can't kill it. So, I mean, it can become really strong really quick. And also that means that you want to play it on really strong cards. In Keswick, even Celebration wears a fearsome face. It does look fearsome. And this is Celebration. I mean, she does look happy. Tainted Adversary. From Celebration to this. 2 mana zombie. It's not a simp. It's not one of the simps. It's a 2/3 with Death Touch. When it enters the battlefield, you may pay 3 mana any number of times. When you pay this cost 1 or more times, put that many +1 counters on Tainted Adversary, and then create twice that many 2/2 black zombie creature tokens with the gate. It's a mythic, and that's because this thing can easily be a 3/4 with 2 zombies for 5 mana, which is strong. And also in a zombie deck, this becomes strong really fast. So if you have 4 of these, which is hard to get, your deck becomes swarmy really fast. So that's cool. What? Oh, there you are. We have Burly Breaker and Dire Strain Demolisher. Both have Ward, and that's it. But this one is a 5 mana 6/5, so a really big human already that defends itself. But this one defends itself even better, and it's an 8/7. It's just a big chunky dude. That's it. But cool, nonetheless. Nebuchas Intruder is a 3 mana spirit with flash and flying. When it enters the battlefield, up to 1 target creature an opponent controls gets -2/-0 until end of turn. It's a dog or something? Is it a dog? What is this ghost? Are these its arms? Why does it have keys? We have seen one before that was luring people in with this, and apparently it can kill people by going through them. Or maybe stun them a little, or maybe they will feel cold like in Harry Potter. I think that's it. What? Grafted Identity is a 4 mana enchantment aura. It says, as an additional cost to cast the spell, sacrifice a creature. Then you may enchant creature. So you sacrifice one, you take his face, you put it on yourself. But okay, you have to sacrifice 1 creature to control another creature. So maybe you sacrifice yourself, maybe this man is the face. So he killed himself, and then he put his face on someone else. Is that it? But you sacrifice your creature to enchant another creature, and you control it, and it gets +1/+1. So it's a control spell for 4 mana, which is not too much. And if you have like a zombie to sacrifice, you can put a zombie face on someone else, which is already demoralizing. And after putting a zombie face on them, you control them as well. So they will live their lives in control of you with a stinky zombie face on their face. I think that's enough. Chaplain of Alms and Chapel Shieldgeist. So first he gives out alms, and then later he starts protecting the church as a ghost with a really strong looking barrier. It's a 1 mana 1/1 with first strike and ward, and when it dies it becomes really strong. Wow, that's insane. For 4 mana you will get a 2/1 flying first strike back, so it can attack in pretty easily already. But also, each creature you control has ward 1. Isn't that really strong? Wow, okay. So he isn't very impressive here. And you might want him to die. But then he becomes a really strong protector of all your creatures. That's so cool. Loyal Griff from Ilse Gort again. 3 mana Hippogriff 2/2 with flash and flying, so it will come in when you need it. And then when it ends the battlefield, you may return another creature you control to its owner's hand. So a little bit of the protection thing a lot of animal companions do in Magic the Gathering is returning another creature to your hand to protect it. We can see that their owner maybe is grasping at it because it's running away or something like that. It's running away, but it will be loyal, so it will come back when you need it. Something like that. It almost seems to say as well, like, don't worry, just focus on yourself. I will come back when you need me. Spectral Adversary. It's a mythic, a 2-mana mythic, spirit, flying and flash. So the 2-mana flash flying is way better than the 4-mana one that we saw before. Even if it has 1 less power and 2 less toughness, but that's not the important part, it will die anyway. When it ends the battlefield, you may pay 2 any number of times, so it's like the other zombie one. When you pay this cost 1 or more times, put that many +1 counters on it, so it becomes stronger really quick. Then up to that many other target artifact creatures and or enchantments phase out. Cool. I mean, you can have multiple of these. And then you can phase out another of these Spectral Adversaries. It comes back and then it enters the battlefield again. So you can pay 2 mana any number of times again. So flickering with this has become very viable all of a sudden. So yeah, cool. I like that. It's really strong though, which is dangerous. Briar Bridge Tracker. Because if it's too strong, I won't like it anymore. It's a 3-mana human scout, which is a 2/3 with vigilance. It's a tracker, so it's like a tireless tracker. But this time it only investigates when it enters the battlefield. And as long as you control a token, which you do when this enters the battlefield, it gets +2/+0, so it becomes a 4/3 for 3 mana. So you probably play this, you want to be aggressive with it, and then use your token after that, so it will feel less bad when you lose this. That's cool. Hungry for More is a vampire card already. We can see this because it's hungry, and for more is a little bit of a joke, and werewolves are really edgy with their hunger. We can see that she has real sims, not like the joke from before. And this lady is looking at that, maybe she's a little bit jealous, I can somewhat imagine. This man is almost falling to his death for falling after her, and I think the story is that he has been bitten. But like many vampire stories in Innistrad as well, vampires biting people can really turn them on in some ways, and they start to kill her for more. But what the thing actually does is it's a 2-mana sorcery that lets you create a 3/1 black and red vampire creature token with trample, lifelink, and haste, which is a lot of keywords, but it's a fast attacker that can grant you life. But you have to sacrifice it at the end of your next end step, but then it comes back for more. This we had already. Startle is a 2-mana instant, which feels like a free spell, which is cool. This one was fishing, and then it grabbed a fish, but it wasn't a fish, it was a hand. Again with the hands. This is the third card that cares about hands, not lands, hands. But then you may create this 2/2 black zombie creature token with Decade. So it was scared by their hand, but now the zombie... Oh, this is a really smart zombie. The zombie put their hand in the water to scare him, then he runs away, and then they can bite him. But what it does, it's a 2-mana instant that lets you create a black zombie, give a creature -2/-0, and draw a card. Necrosynthesis. Doesn't work with the sun, does work with dead people. It's a 2-mana enchantment aura, which seems to feel strong for all the words that are on it. Enchanted creature has whenever another creature dies, put a +1 counter on this creature, which will happen a lot when you are playing with the decayed zombies. So that's a really strong effect in this set. When enchanted creature dies, look at the top X cards of your library. Where X is its power, put one of those cards into your hand and the rest onto the bottom of the library in a random order. So this enchantment also replaces itself. This is a really strong enchantment. I think black and green are the strongest in the set. It really feels that way. Grizzly Ghoul is a 4-mana zombie bear, which looks terrifying with its claw. Gmd. It's a 4-mana 4/3 with trample, so pretty good already. Black and green are the strongest in the set. No, I don't know this card yet. But when it enters the battlefield, it gains a +1 counter on it for each creature that died this turn. This is really strong again. The hunters spent the evening celebrating their kill and the rest of the night running from it because of all the decayed creatures that you can get. Insane. Dire Strain Rampage is a 3-mana sorcery in Gruul. We can see the werewolves flying around and apparently setting fire to stuff. How do they do that? No one knows. But apparently they like fire or something. This sorcery, which you can use twice, lets you destroy target artifact, enchantment or land. So you can choose a lot of things with this for 3 mana. If a land was destroyed this way, its controller may search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, which is more than you destroyed, put them onto the battlefield, tapped and shuffle. Otherwise, its controller may search the library for 1 basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, tapped and shuffle. So basically, when you destroy a land, you probably will want to destroy a really strong land from your opponent or one of your own lands to get 2 lands back from it and trap yourself. Or you will want to destroy an artifact or enchantment for probably your opponent, or maybe from yourself if it's a useless artifact or enchantment. But probably from your opponent. But it also could be one of your curses. So I think it's versatile. Adeline Katara Splendente is how I will say it. Oh no. Wait. Wait one moment. Do we have the actual English part? We don't. No cards found. Oh no. Wait, I'm sure it must be there somewhere. It's not? How could I not have seen this? Why is this card nowhere? Do we have to like Google Translate this stuff? We can't not see it now. Okay, we have one here. We value your privacy, thanks. Okay, so what it does, it's Adeline Resplendent Cathar. It's a Vigilance star 4, which you still can see. Their power is equal to the number of creatures you control, so it works with the Celestia vibe of wanting to make more creatures. Whenever you attack for each opponent, create a 1/1 white human creature token that's tapped and attacking that player or a planeswalker they control. So apparently it's used for multiplayer, and it probably is because it's really easy to block her. In 1 versus 1, it's a 3 mana, like 1/4 at least. Meh. Doesn't feel the greatest, but it's white, so it should be really bad. Siphon Insight is a 2 mana instant that lets you look at the top 2 cards of target opponent's library, exile one of them face down and put the other on the bottom of that library. You may look at and play the exiled card for as long as it remains exiled, and you may spend mana as though it were mana of any color to cast that spell. So you may steal 1 card from your opponent's deck and use it to play it, and then you can use it again with flashback. So pretty okay. The thing is, drawing your own deck is better than drawing your opponent's deck. Except for when you're mill or something. But in this case, I don't think it's better than just drawing. It is fun because you will be able to play what your opponent's playing. And maybe you will synergize with them or something. Might be. Also, the art is suggestive. Ritual of Hope, 2 mana instant. Creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn, and if you have Coven, they get +2/+1 until end of turn instead. Not the strongest, but again, it's white, it should be weak. Tonight we can be anything, except for a good color. But the art is cool. I like that the art is making art. And we see the candles again outside. This child is really protected. Hostile turns into Creeping In. The land adds 1 colorless mana, and you may sacrifice a creature, put a soul counter on hostile. Then if there are 3 or more soul counters, so it's the same as the mirror one from before. Remove those counters, transform the hostile. Then untap it, activate Fate only as a sorcery. Then it becomes a Creeping In when you have sacrificed 3 creatures to it. Whenever it attacks, you may exile a creature card from your graveyard, and you have probably already gotten some in your graveyard. You may, if you do, each opponent loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the number of creature cards exiled with Creeping In. And you may phase it out for 4 mana. What? So it's the 3/7s without keywords that you want to attack with, because then you may, like, it's so hard to exile a lot of. Does this work? Maybe this works as well. So it's like you can drain him for 4 and then for 5 and then for 6 and then they're dead. So you need to attack with this 3 times, and it's a 3/7, so they probably won't be able to kill it really quickly. Meh. But the art is cool. because we can see how big this house looks here and how small it looks here compared to the huge tree that's creeping. Delver of Secrets is back. At the beginning of your upkeep, you look at the top card of your library. You may reveal that card, and then if an instant or sorcery card is revealed from the one top card of your library, you may transform Delver of Secrets. He says, if my hypothesis is correct, Insectile Aberration, a flying 3/2, which is strong for 1 mana. And also, you may reveal that card. No, that's not important. Aha, yes. Now I hear it. The beautiful poetry of the lights in the sky. You can see how you can see the lights in the sky. I must reach the moon and ask what it all means. He wants to reach the moon. We know what's in the moon. He wants to reach the moon. He shouldn't reach the moon, but he wants to reach the moon. Guys, sorry. I should really be this small. Here you go. That's better. I'm so sorry, I was in front of all the cards all the time. But this is better. This is so smart for me. Bloodthirsty Adversary, another cool looking vampire. So vampires are really looking cooler already. And this is a mythic, a 2-mana vampire with 2/2. I like small mythics. It's a haste, it has haste, and when it enters the battlefield you may pay 3 mana any number of times. When you pay this cost 1 or more times, put that many plus 1 counts on the adversary. Then exile up to that many target instant and or sorcery cards with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard and copy them. You may cast any number of copies without paying their mana cost at any time. That's pretty sick. Nice, I like it. We have... maybe we should like change this up every time. I think that would be fun. Because I will forget it all the time. Can't Stay Away is a 2-mana cat sorcery, where the cats can stay away from the food even though one of them died already. Return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield, so you can return one of those cats, apparently. If this creature would die, exile it instead. So it's another resurrection card for really cheap. Death is no impediment to dinner. Maybe this cat possessed one of these cats and now he's eating with them or something. These cats are looking really terrified. This one looks a little bit disgusted. This one looks angry. This one is just enjoying their moment. Consuming Blob, a 5-mana creature ooze. Consuming Blob's power is equal to the number of card types among cards in your graveyard, and its toughness is equal to that number plus 1. So it will always have 1 toughness. At the beginning of your end step, create a green ooze creature token with this creature's power is equal to the number of cards types among cards in your graveyard, and its toughness is equal to the number plus 1. So at first it's probably like a 2-3 or something, and it will grow slowly, but also at the beginning of your end step, and end step is better than upkeep for a creature most of the time. At the beginning of that you will get another one of these every time, so it can become really strong. And that's the way of the ooze. And the ooze also eats and cleans up the graveyard in a way, which is so nice of them. I think this is an ally to humans. They also destroy their symbols, but that's fine. Moonville Regent is a 4-mana dragon creature from Joshua Raphael. It's a flying 4/4 for 4 mana, which is already great. Whenever you cast a spell, you may discard your whole hand. If you do, draw a card for each of that spell's colors. So you want to have almost no cards in hand, and then you pay a 5-colored spell, and then you can redraw 5 cards. When it dies, it deals X damage to any target where X is the number of colors among permanents you control. So Moonville Regent, with these chromatic colors in its wings, really likes you to play 3 to 5 colors, so that this can be really strong. Because if you have 3, it will do 3 damage when it dies. And it might do 5, but that's not the most important part. I think it's the most important part is the wheel effect, sort of, where you discard your hand and get 2, 3, 4, 5 cards back. Even 2 is pretty good, I think. But if you can get 5, that's amazing. Falcon Wrath Pitfighter. It's a 1-mana ravenous vampire warrior. A 2/1, and for 2 mana, you may discard a card and sacrifice a vampire, which are not so expendable in this set, but draw 2 cards, activate only if an opponent lost life this turn. Really hard to play. But okay. You can also let it sacrifice itself. So if you play this on turn 1, you attack with it, You pay 2 mana, sacrifice itself. You will have dealt 2 damage, which is a shock. And you will have looted and get 2 cards back. So it's no, that's not that good. But could be good. Sludge Monster again, we have seen this. Grafted Adversary is a 2 mana adversary, sorry. It's 2 mana human scout, another mythic. There are a lot of those, I feel like, but it's a 3/1 with lifelink, and when it ends the battlefield you may pay 2 mana any number of times. When you pay this cost 1 or more times, put that many Valor counters on the adversary. So the adversary will get Valor if you pay more mana. And that will mean that your creatures will get +1 for each Valor counter on it. So for 4 mana you will have a Lord. For 6 mana you will have a Fine Lord. And for 8 mana you will have also a opportunity. And under the light of an unnatural moon, it walked out on legs of straw with joints of hinges ripped from the barn doors. So it waited on the barn, and now it has conquered that barn. And it has become a 7 mana 5/6. And lands you control have add 1 mana of any color. So it's color fixing. Apparently, this set wants you to play 5 colors really badly. Curse of Surveillance is a 5 mana aura curse that lets you create more eyes in someone's hand. At the beginning of enchanted player's upkeep, any number of target players other than that player each draw cards equal to the number of curses attached to that player. So for you, in a 1v1, it's a 5 mana, draw 1 turn, 1 every turn, maybe 2 or 3. In a dedicated deck it might draw you a lot of cards, but it's 5 mana, really expensive for that. I think it will only become good if you have drawn 3 with it in 2 turns maybe. So yeah, I think you want another curse on them and then it's fine, maybe. And maybe you will need it in the curse deck, but in multiplayer it seems better. because it's more political, maybe, but still not better because your opponents draw cards. I don't know. But it looks awful, which is good. I think that's the best part about this. The art. Sacred Fire. A 2 mana instant, which deals 2 damage to any target and you gain 1 life. So it's Lightning Helix, but worse. But then also you may pay 6 mana to do it again. A 6 mana shock. Do not confuse Justice with Mercy. Odric, Order of Saint Theft. We haven't seen Odric, I think. But they are back. And then we have Jewel for Dominance, which is, I think, Arlene Gort fighting Tovalar. It's a 2 mana instant with Coven. Choose target creature you control and target creature you don't control. If you have Coven, put a +1 counter on the chosen creature you control. Then the chosen creatures fight each other. So the witches will make Arlene stronger? Or they will make Tovalar stronger? I don't know, I thought Tovalar was on the side of the witches, but maybe not. Willow Geist is the one before our small break. It's a 1 mana 3-folk spirit again. Whenever 1 or more cards leave your graveyard, which they will do a lot, so green is again a really strong color because this 1/1 trampler will become bigger. You may put a +1 counter on Willow Geist. When it dies, you gain life equal to its power. So can become a really big dude. Can give you a lot of power. And it's only 1 mana. Really dangerous. And I will leave you with this lady. And take one small break. One small break. Okay, I really have to keep myself there. Gamer move. So I do edit the streams afterwards, but I always like to keep the small breaks in the video, because when you're watching someone for such a long time, it's really important to have some breaks. I think they shouldn't have to be commercial breaks, but you do need breaks. Anyways, to get some coffee. Sungold Sentinel, a 2-mana human soldier. Whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, I like that vibe, man. But it's also dangerous. Exile up to the 1 target card from a graveyard, so it's graveyard hate, and then with Coven you can pay 2 mana, choose a color. The Sentinel gains hexproof from that color until end of turn and can't be blocked by creatures of that color this turn. And you can only activate it with Coven. But the protection thing is really strong, with something that does something whenever it attacks. And it's really strong because it's still a 3 powered card that attacks in every time. And I like this one. It's the lights that protect you, but also lure people in for the ghosts. But in this time, it's the protection. And what I really like is in the story before, we have had Avacyn or her symbols protecting the humans. But later, people stopped believing in her, or mostly did stop believing in her or in the church even. And now they have to believe in different things, like these candles that are protecting them. And I like that it is such a big theme here, to really show you that beliefs may change, but the essence of those beliefs might stay around. Odric's Outrider. So Odric kind of making another debut here, or not a debut, it's not his first time, not his first rodeo. Another appearance, sort of. It's not him, but it's a 4 mana knight of him. And whenever it or another creature you control dies, you may put a +1 counter on target creature you control. So you will keep some of the power that you lose around. Terms like Safe Route and Clear District are a source of dark humor to the Cathars who patrol the ruins of Thraben. So the cities and the streets of Thraben are not safe, they are ruins, they are destroyed. And there is no safe route, and there is no clear district. It's just a joke when someone says this, because they will never get it back, and they lost a beauty, they lost protection, they lost their security. Overwhelmed Archivist is a human wizard for 3 mana. When it enters the battlefield, you may draw and then discard. Bah! As if I had time to preserve anything, everything. Oh, so again, only a hand. What's it with the hands? When it dies, you do nothing, but you may pay 4 mana from the graveyard to get it back, and you will get one of these candle lures in. How quick did these spirits evolve into having these lamps? Cleaning up his life's work was his afterlife's work. So he didn't have time to clean this up. So he needed his afterlife for it. Cool. We also have the blue light of the spirit already. Maybe he wanted to become a spirit. Maybe he wanted to finish his work, even if he had to work on after his death. But when his flying 2/1 version of himself attacks, you may draw and discard, so you can keep doing that. So the drawing and discarding is a really library theme here. And then it has the spirit ability of not dying but being exiled. What? Wait. No. Oh. Guys, I have to fight. One more. It's more like shaking. And then he runs. But Suspicious Stowaway. It's a really cool card in this one, I think. Yeah, really cool art here. But it's a 2-mana 1/1 that can't be blocked. And when it deals combat damage to a player, you may draw a card and discard a card. So it's a really easy way of looting here. And then when it transforms, it still can't be blocked. And instead of looting, you may just draw a card. So that's pretty strong for 2-mana cards to keep drawing you cards every time. It should be a rare, I think. Yeah. I like it, not much else about it. I think it's really simple. Yep, that's it. Extana. Nah, maybe. So one thing is, a stowaway is someone who has to hide, right? And again, it's a werewolf that can come out of hiding and now is seafaring themselves. It's not that well found. Falconwrath Perforator is a vampiric office supplier. It's a 2-mana 2/1. When it attacks, it deals 1 damage to target to the defending player. So it might deal 3 damage. Lady Anya sends her regards. I'll carve the rest of her message into your skin. So she won't carve the regards in your skin. So then it will just look like a letter on your skin without the kind regards. So then she seems more evil. I think that's the story here. She seems more evil because she doesn't send her kind regards. Arcane Infusion is a Ghostbusters card for 2-mana instant. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal an instant or sorcery card from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. So it's card selection, but only for instants and sorceries. And then it has flashback for 5. Just 1 card. Maybe for a combo deck. Sigarda's Splendor. So here we see Sigarda. It's just Sigarda again. It seems like a creature card. But it's a 4-mana enchantment. And when it enters the battlefield, you note your life total, which is a really strong effect. Because if you have a lot of life, your opponent will be scared. And then at the beginning of it, you have to do this, by the way. You can't just put it on your computer or something like that. You have to note it down. Otherwise, you're not playing the game. I mean, what are you doing? It might even say on your spell table, but you still have to note it down. At the beginning of your upkeep, draw a card if your life total is greater than or equal to the last noted life total for Sigarda Splendor. Then note your life total. You have to still note it again. So this enchantment, if you keep casting white spells, you might keep drawing cards. And it's card draw in white. Sick. It's every turn again. It's only value if you have waited 2 turns and every time you had more life. But it's also still life gain. I mean, that's something that white likes. Cool. We need this, so yeah, good. And it looks beautiful. I mean, if this is the card that we are all going to play, then that's fine with me. Stuffed Bear is a 2-mana artifact. It becomes a 4/4 green bear artifact creature token until end of turn if you pay 2 mana extra for it. Which is a pretty big bear. I mean, apparently bears are bigger than werewolves. It takes a taxidermist of unusual skill to cleanly stuff and mount a beast without severing its primal predatory drive. So we were doing it wrong all the time. Okay. Slugurk, the Overslime. It's our second ooze, I think. Or third. It's a 3-mana 3/3 with trample. Whenever a land is put into your graveyard from anywhere, put a +1 counter on Slugurk, the Overslime. Remove 3 +1 counters from Slugurk, return it to its owner's hand. So it has built-in protection. It's a really big slime that likes to eat ships, and apparently it cares about land. Well, it's in the sea, maybe islands or something. And when it leaves the battlefield, return up to 3 target lands from your graveyard to your hand. So you want to put cards in your lands in your graveyard, and then you kind of want it to return to your hand, and then you can play those lands again. That's pretty good. So if you have like the Evolving Wild type of cards, this becomes a really strong ramp card. Wow. And it's a 3 mana 3/3 already, but it grows stronger. This is really overpowered. Simic, again, overpowered. If these colors are together, it always becomes overpowered. Leer, Disciple of the Drowned, who wants to learn how to become drowned. Spells can be countered, really strong, 5 mana, 3/4. That's a little bit counter blue, because I think you can't counter spells either. But each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard has flashback, which is really strong for the flashback theme at least. The flashback cost is equal to that card's mana cost. So also all the flashback cards will still be cheaper, probably, because of it. Beneath the waves, lost gods stir in their slumber. That's a really strong card. So blue, of course, one of the other colors that are worthwhile to play. Really strong again. No, I really like Boros, but it's just not good. Federic Astral Archmage. If it's neither day or night, it becomes day as Federic Astral Archmage enters the battlefield. Okay. Instant and sorcery cards you cast cost X less to cast, where X is Federic's power. Nice. Already 1, but may become more. Whenever day becomes night or night becomes day, so not when he enters the battlefield. Put a +1 to counter on Federic. Okay. So this grows itself for the night and day splits, which are not necessarily in blue and red, I have noted, but it will still happen. And if you storm away, it's probably easy to switch between the two. And then your spells become easier to cast, meaning you will be able to change night and day faster, so that's cool. Moonsilver Key is a 2 mana artifact. Also, what I think is funny about these cards is the fact that if your opponent wants it to be night, then it becomes really easy for yourself to just turn it back to day every time. You want to turn it back to day every time, because then your switch cards become better, and you don't want your opponent to have night at their turn, so I think that's funny. Moonsilver Key is a 2 mana artifact that says, for 1 mana you may sacrifice it, search your library for an artifact card with a mana ability, or, which are a lot of cards, or a basic land card, reveal it, put it into your hand, and shuffle. So you will always be able to find something with it, almost always. And you can find artifacts with it. And people were searching for the Moonsilver Key in the story. To restore the day-night balance, the Celestis mechanism's Sun Gold lock must be reunited with its long-lost key. Interesting. So they need to search for this, bring it back to the Celestis, then there's a big fight there, and then the Planeswalkers will help. I think that's the story. Bird Admirer becomes Wing Shredder, meaning that their hobby becomes a bit more of a compulsion. Bird Admirer, a 3 mana 1/4, turns into a 3/5, both with reach, so a little bit vanilla, but good against all the flyers that are around. This one already kills all the ravens. This one I think already kills all of the spirits, so yeah, really strong against those archetypes. So really Hades card actually in against those decks. Ram Carolus Stalwart Slayer, so another stork thing. 3 mana human knight with flying and haste. So the Boros one. Let's see if it holds up to the other ones, other rares. If a spell will deal damage to you or another permanent you control, prevent that damage. Pretty good against blue-red decks only. If a spell will deal damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals that much damage plus 1 instead. And in these decks, it's only like one card that really does this, and it's an X spell, so that really doesn't work with that well. So no. Just to know, it's a little bit of a hate card. Again, the Boros one really sucks in this set. I mean, otherwise it can be pretty good, but yeah, of course. Thraben Exorcism is Kaya fighting the ghosts. 2 mana instant, exile target spirit creature with Disturb or enchantment. So creature with Disturb are also spirits in coming or enchantment. And then Chandra Teferi and Arlene sought clues to the Moon Silver Keys whereabouts, which we saw before, while Kaya dispatched the spirits obstructing their path. Okay, so she really is here for no reason at all. Sigardian Savior, a 5 mana creature angel with flying. It's a 3/3. So her effects should be really strong. When she enters the battlefield, if you cast it, return up to 2 target creature cards with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Pretty strong. You want to have a lot of small creatures in the green-white archetype, in the Sigarda archetype, so this really works there. I think white-green is pretty strong. Or, if you're lucky. Organ Hoarder is a 4 mana zombie 3/2. When it enters the battlefield, look at the top 3 cards of your library, then put one of them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. So, card selection, get some stuff in the graveyard. It's important. So the Stitcher is someone who stitches zombies together and makes them stronger or more beautiful or something. Died years ago, but her dutiful assistant still keeps the laboratory well stocked. Whether it's from wanting to gather these resources or just being dutiful, it's still nice that they have a hobby. Bladebrand is a 2 mana instant. Target creature gains death touch until end of turn. So, kind of a kill spell almost, but not really. Draw a card. Scourge Dog. Cultists believe that the right poison purifies a tainted soul before it makes its way to Ormandal. Okay. That's just a joke. Eaten Alive, a 1 mana, another joke. A sorcery as an additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice a creature or pay 4 mana. So it might be, so it's like a Bone Splinters, but you also can cast it for 5 mana. So like, it can be expensive, but another really easy to cast kill spell. It's the 4th kill spell in black. Really. Then you can exile even, so not really kill. Exile target creature or planeswalker. If you hear a groaning If you hear a groaning nose in the cellar, don't investigate. Don't split up. Just lock the door and barricade it. Can you groan with your nose? I can't. I just tried it, it didn't work. This was by Emily Guard Captain. Don't investigate it because you will be eaten alive. Jack O'Lantern is a 1 mana artifact. You may sacrifice it to exile up to 1 target card from a graveyard and draw a card, which is pretty strong in this set. You can see again that these demons really like to fool with the Abyssinian sign. It's really their choice of joke. They only make this joke. They don't make other jokes. You may exile it from your graveyard and add 1 mana of any color. I don't think I have ever seen it like that. By the end of the festival, it was the only thing still grimming. I really hope we get a story with this demonic festival. Reckless Stormseer turns into Stormcharged Slasher. Another werewolf card, but this time with the instant and sorcery theme of being with the storm. At the beginning of your turn, hi. At the beginning of your turn, of combat on your turn, target creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains haste until end of turn. Pretty good, pretty good. At the beginning of combat on your turn, so red has some hasty vibes, At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control gets +2/+0 and gains trample and haste until end of turn. Nice. And it's a 3/4 for 3 mana. Okay, strong card, strong. It's rare, but it's still strong. I mean, haste is always good already, so the human part is almost as good as this one. And this one can be a finisher even. So, yeah. Seems red. But of course, just after we have seen an okay card from red, we see Teferi who slows the sunset. Who doesn't really slow the sunset. You may choose up to 1 target artifact, up to 1 target creature, and up to 1 target land. Untap the chosen permanents you control. Tap the chosen permanents you don't control. You gain 2 life. Not a day or night thing, but okay. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put 1 of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So, like card draw and really good selection, but not day and night. You get an emblem with untap all permanents you control during each opponent's untap step, and you draw a card during each opponent's untap step. Giving you like 4 turns in some cases, but at least 2. But still, the name doesn't make sense. And maybe we will see another format of Teferi for a long time. Spellrune Painter and Spellrune Howler are a combination of werewolves, where the first one says, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, she gets +1/+1 until end of turn, so real prowess. And Spellrune Howler has a stronger prowess with +2/+2. Okay, cool. Another one for the blue-red archetype, not really the werewolf archetype, but no, not at all actually. So yeah, I feel like the blue-red archetype, the white-green archetype, the black-green archetype are all stronger than the werewolf archetype. But okay. Wake to Slaughter. Oh, another archetype that's better is the vampire archetype. It's already better than the werewolf archetype here. Choose up to 2 target creature cards in your graveyard. An opponent chooses 1 of them. Return that card to your hand. Return the other to the battlefield under your control. So your opponent can choose 1 that only goes to your hand. The other one goes in, and so he also chooses that one. But it goes onto the battlefield. It gains haste, but you have to exile that one at the beginning of your next end step. So you will choose 2 really aggressive cards, and they have to choose 1 that will attack them immediately, or you will choose 2 really good cards that you want to keep around, and you will get that into your hand, and 1 you will get to use for now. Cool. Also flashback. So another flashback. I think pretty cool card. Bit slow. Field of Ruin is back. A land that taps for colorless mana, and for 2 mana you may sacrifice it to destroy target non-basic land an opponent controls. Doesn't work against basic lands in draft. Each player searches their library for a basic land card, puts it onto the battlefield, then shuffles. Which is not ramp, because you have sacrificed the land too. We have seen this one. We have a Mask of Grizzlebrand, which we should not forget was here. A 3 mana legendary artifact equipment. The Mask of Grizzlebrand gives equipped creature flying and lifelink. Whenever it dies, you may pay X life, where X is its power. So you have to pay all of its power. If you do, draw X cards. So you pay like 4 life, but you draw 4 cards. This is a really strong card again, I think. So black again. well, it's a little bit boring to say it again. Vanquish the Horde. Here we see, I think, Odric again. 8 mana sorcery board wipe, but it costs 1 less to cast for each creature on the battlefield, so easily can become 5 mana and probably can become 2 mana sometimes as well for big board wipes. Makes white weaker again, but also makes blue and black weaker again with the zombies. And it's a board wipe, so really good card. I think white has gotten some strength in the set. Werewolves have gotten weaker in the set now. Werewolves have gotten some strength as well, but like less than the other tribes, I feel. Up to now. Bereaved Survivor and Dauntless Avenger. When another creature you control dies, you may transform this one. So you need to save this one, but other creatures dying is fine. And it will, from a 2-1, become a 3-2, which when it attacks, you may return target creature card with mana value 2 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield tapped and attacking. Again, making the green-white witch decks way better. It was Sigarda who lifted me from despair and gave me the strength to fight on. And with Evasin gone, I no longer knew who to pray to. Alone, I wept for a sister who would never return. So she wept for a sister, her Evasin, who will never return. But she got Sigarda, who lifted her from her despair and gave her the strength to fight on. Cool. Telling us a little bit of the story about how Evasin left and how Sigarda took her sort of place and like started protecting the humans, but did it in her really own way by giving power to the covens, which is cool. Still, well, let's not get into that again, but I really like the card anyways. Morbid Opportunist is a human rogue at 3 mana. Whenever 1 or more creature tokens die, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. Okay, going on the Adventures in the Forgotten Realms theme of creatures dying, and then you get something. I think this one probably was built for the stat. On Innistrad, one person's windfall usually starts with another person lying face down in the mud. Okay, I get it. It's a morbid place. Hound Tamer and Untaped Pup is really cool, but this art is so cool from Randy Vargas. But the card says it's a 3 mana human werewolf for 3 mana. It has trample, so pretty good. Green again, pretty cool. So green really the werewolf color to be. It has trample, and for 4 mana you may put a +1 counter on target creature, which is okay in green because you can have a lot of mana. You and me, we're not built for captivity. So he says, I don't want to stay inside, I want to go outside. So he already has a little bit of a werewolf side to him. But then he turns into a werewolf. He has his tongue wagging out and his dog friends are running after him. You can see here, this dog is this dog. You can see how big this dude gets. But still, he's young, he's untamed, and it's just so cute. Other wolves and werewolves you control have trample. That's really good, so maybe werewolves can be a thing. And you can still put a +1 counter on target creature with that ability. Okay, I like it. Slaughter Specialist, so it's again Gruul thing with giving things haste and trample. And making them moderately big. They are not really big in this set, but you can make some big werewolves. We have seen the 6-5, we have seen like a 7-4, 7-5, 8-5 maybe even. Slaughter Specialist is a 2 mana vampire warrior. When it enters the battlefield, each opponent creates a 1/1 white human creature token, which he apparently wants, because whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, put a +1 counter on this specialist. Cool card. From every kill, a gruesome trophy, which we can see here, the trophies. And she's not sexy either. Why are we not angry about this? No, she is in a way, of course. Everyone is sexy in their own way, let's just say that. Seize the Storm, another storm card with 2 massive elemental clouds storming in to these 2 people. Create a red elemental creature token with trample, and this creature's power and toughness are each equal to the number of instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard, plus the number of cards with flashback you own in exile. So still works with the flashback cards, because if they are exiled, you still created an elemental token that is really big because of it, and it grows with your cards. So it's at least a 1/1. It's at least a 5 mana 1/1, and then for 7 mana you can create another 1/1, but it will probably be better. Probably. I hope. If you are playing this in an all creature deck, it's not made for the werewolves deck, let's say that. It doesn't feel like werewolves are really in red too much. But maybe they are. Like, the problem here is maybe that vampires are black-red in this set. They are taking from the red side of werewolves. The instant deck is blue-red. They are taking from red from the werewolves. And then we have this white and green archetype, which is taken from green again from the werewolves, which means that werewolves don't really have their own color in that way. In previous tribal sets like Ixalan, we have had 4 tribes, and all cards were focused on those tribes. In this case, we have like 5 or 6 tribes in some ways, and they are not really focused on those cards, I feel like. But okay, maybe they don't need to be. But it felt like the set was so focused on werewolves that there should be a really big focus on that. That's maybe why it feels weird. But this is a 3 mana Dawnheart Wardens, which is the human archetype, sort of. It has Vigilance, it's a 3/3. And at the beginning of combat on your turn, if you have Coven, creatures you control get +1/+0 until end of turn. It's fine. And you want to have, again, a lot of creatures with this archetype, so this will become stronger because of that. All the small creatures, the 2 mana creatures that you will be able to get back from your graveyard. We have Danik, who is from the Spirit archetype. It's a 2 mana human soldier, legendary, with lifelink. Cards in graveyards can be targets of spells or abilities. Okay, so you can't exile them because of this. And it has Disturb for 4. Whenever 1 or more creature cards are put into graveyards from anywhere, so it can also be from your opponent's, Investigate. This ability triggers only once each turn. Okay, there's a caveat. And then the spirit thing of when it would die, exile it instead, because otherwise you will be able to disturb this dude every time. I like the flavor of Disturb too, because you have to disturb the dead to return them in some ways. Florian Voldaron Scion is a great vampire. Again, vampires. Of course, the set is about vampires, so logical to see this. A 3 mana legendary creature, vampire noble. It's a 3/3 with first strike. At the beginning of your post-combat main phase, look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the total amount of life your opponents lost this turn. So the vampire set really focuses on the vampires having abilities that work with your opponents losing life. Because of course the vampires are the most aggressive tribe that exists on Innistrad. Exile 1 of those cards and put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. You may play the exiled card this turn. So in a great way, it's a selective draw. Selective impulsive draw. So that's cool. I don't think it's the strongest or anything. But it's still strong. I mean, a 3 mana 3/3 with first strike is already really strong in defense. And really strong in offense too. And if you can let your opponent lose life, you will at least draw something. When Dreadhound enters the battlefield, mill 3 cards. Okay, that's a nice graveyard filler. Whenever a creature dies or a creature card is put into a graveyard from a library, also when you mill cards, each opponent loses 1 life. That's strong. It is 6 mana, but it's strong and it's a 6/6. It hurts souls toward eternal torment. A weird dog to have in a werewolf set. A demon dog, but it's a cool card. Phantom Carriage. 6 mana flying spirit 4/4. When it enters the battlefield, you may search a library for a card with flashback or disturb. So it works with spirits and with the flashback thing. Put it into your graveyard, then shuffle. Passage to the Abyss is free, but the return trip will cost you. I mean, it is still a tutor. So that could be strong. It's 6 mana, a little bit excessive maybe, but Air Elemental is 5 mana for a 4/4, so. Angel Fire Ignition. This is not an angel, but it does look like it. So maybe they are trying to imitate them to make the people feel safe. It's a 3 mana sorcery. Put 2+1 counters on target creature. It gains Vigilance, Trample, Lifelink, Indestructible, and Haste until end of turn. So a great attacker for 1 turn. You will at least gain some life. You might get some damage in at your opponent's face. Or you might kill a creature more easily with this. And then there's flashback as well for 1 mana more. I mean, the counters are permanent, so you might make something really big, but I don't know why you would play Boros in this set. But okay. Fading Hope is a 1 mana instant. Return target creature to its owner's hand. Pretty good. If its mana value was 3 or less, you may scry 1. Nice. Okay, I like that. At least I won't become one of those things. So it's an unsummon, which our friend Unsummon Skull really likes. And it's a variation on it, which is a little bit better, I think. So, interesting. Fading Hope. They're vanishing. Oh, this is such a sad card, actually. They're vanishing into the air. But at least I won't become one of those things. Oh, she's dying. Why is it every time that something gets flickered or returned to someone's hand that they are so dramatic about it, but they will probably return in a few seconds? But okay. Cathartic Pyre. A 2 mana instant. Choose one. You may deal 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker. Okay. Or discard up to 2 cards, then draw that many cards. So it's looting. Or it's dealing damage to a creature or planeswalker. That's a pretty good card. Okay, red is coming back, red is coming back. Red is coming back, red is coming back. Leave behind the sorrow of this body. Be blessed, being of light. But they're actually burning it so that they won't return. Okay. Memory Deluge. Deluge. From Lake Hurwitch, which looks cool, but I don't understand it, which is even cooler. I mean, this person probably had some bad memories of their mom killing them almost and then screaming, and then their mom was angry and their mom was digging their own grave, and now they are angry. It's a 4 mana instant, or maybe it is the mom and they killed their own daughter or something. Look at the top X cards of your library, where X is the amount of mana spent to cast this spell. Oh, so 4 or 7. Put 2 of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. Put 2 of them into your hand and the rest of them on the bottom. Okay. That's a strong card draw, and if you get it back, you can look at the top 7 cards. But The one from Throne of Eldraine was better than this, and that didn't get used, so I don't think this will get used too much either. The Meathook Massacre is a legendary enchantment mythic. It's an X black and a black, and when it ends the battlefield, each creature gets -X until end of turn, so a board wipe. Which is more flexible but harder to use, I guess, than the white one. But I think it's better. Whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life. Whenever a creature an opponent controls... Oh. Yeah, whenever a creature you control dies, each opponent loses 1 life. And whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, you gain 1 life. So you will also switch a lot of life around. And again, the thing with the hands. What is up with the hands in this set? What's up with the hands? Did someone lose their hand at the team? Is someone insecure about their hands? Do we want to torture artists with having to draw hands? What's up with hands? Sunstreak Phoenix is a 4 mana Phoenix, flying 4/2. Good. It's neither day nor night, it becomes day, which seems to fit because it's a Sunstreak Phoenix, first one that really fits. Whenever day becomes night or night becomes day, you may pay 2 mana. If you do, return it from the graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Nice. Sure. Cool. I mean, a 4 mana 4/2 flying is already good, so maybe this card is the one card that will carry red to be useful. So red is a Phoenix deck in this set. Burn that. Red is, I think it's like a burn deck with the X spells. It's more like that. And a deal damage kind of deck. Burn down the house deals 5 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. Okay, board wipe, 5 mana board wipe. Or you may create 3 1/1 red devil creature tokens with. Whenever this creature dies, it deals 1 damage to any target. They gain haste until end of turn. 5 mana 3 1/1s is not the best. But a board wipe for 5, a red, is fine. Red is the worst at board wipes, so now they have become better. Bloodline Calling is a 3 mana instant of a vampire who is destroying all these people and leaving the bloodline called. You may choose one. Target creature gets -5/5 until end of turn. So another removal in black. Creature tokens get -2/2 until end of turn. So you can kill all the zombies, or you can kill 1 creature. Really strong. Smoldering Egg turns into Ashmouth Dragon, which fire seems to swirl around for some reason. Looks really dark, looks really mystical, looks really dark. The egg is a 2 mana 0/4 defender with whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a number of ember counters on Smoldering Egg, equal to the amount of mana spent to cast that spell. Then, if Smoldering Egg has 7 or more ember counters on it, so if you cast 7 or more mana of spells, remove them and transform it into Ashmouth Dragon, which is a flying 4/4 for 2 mana. Is really impressive. But also, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, it deals 2 damage to any target. Doing that to face is already really strong. I think this is one card that will really carry red. Or you can shock a creature, which is also really strong. So this is really nice. And it's also not an egg that can be killed that easily. So yeah, I think this is cool. Also use this in an egg deck. Hallowed Respite. Or no, because in an egg deck, you want to sacrifice the egg. And this won't get sacrificed. No. So don't use this in the egg deck. Hallowed Respite is a 2 mana sorcery of someone Standing in their church, candles again. Maybe spirits around them. Exile target non-legendary creature. Then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. So again, the blue-white flickering is back. If it entered under your control, put a +1 counter on it. Otherwise, tap it. What? Oh. So you can exile a creature from your opponent and then you can tap it. So it's a way to tap them. They're big werewolf or something. And then you can flash it back for 3 mana. Cool. I like that class of tapping your opponent's creatures. And you can also use it for enter the battlefield effects or saving your creature, of course. So nice, I like it. Vivisection is a 4 mana sorcery with another mask here, a little bit of a small mask here, some hooks, a Jace rock, and someone has built like a bird costume or something. Weird. Sorcery, as an additional cost to cast this spell, sacrifice a creature and then draw 3 cards. Though their work is widely reviled, Stitchers see themselves as being on the cutting edge of science. Ew. So they made like a zombie into a flying bird zombie? Oh no. But what it? Death Bonnet Sprout turns into Death Bonnet Hulk. This small fungus turns into a big fungus. That's it. 1 mana fungus says, at the beginning of your upkeep, mill a card. Then if there are 3 or more creature cards in your graveyard, you may transform this 1/1 into this 3/3 that grew up so fast. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may exile a card from your graveyard. Okay, so you have milled a lot of cards, now you may exile those cards. If a creature card was exiled this way, put a +1 counter on Death Bonnet Hulk. It's fine. Maybe this one will grow into a really big fungus later. That would be cool. Vengeful Strangler. A 2 mana human rogue that cannot block, like a coward, something like that. When it dies, return it to the battlefield transformed under your control. Attached to target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. Oh. As the flames consumed the killer, his eyes remained fixed on the executioner's face. This is scary. His hands twitching like angry spiders. And strangling grasp is his hands turning into angry spiders. Because enchant creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. At the beginning of your upkeep, enchanted permanent's controller sacrifices a non-land permanent and loses 1 life. So they may sacrifice it or sacrifice something else, which makes it worse than a kill spell, but still okay because they have to keep sacrificing permanents anyways. The next day, the executioner was found with ashen handprints on his throat. Sorry. Bloodthirsty Collector. A little bit of a Orzhov card with really weird humans here. Like these seem to come from another game or something. Who want to give their blood to this vampire noble. For the more refined vampire, breaking a victim's will is far more satisfying than simply taking their blood. Okay, a 5 mana 3/4 flying. When it enters the battlefield, if an opponent lost life this turn, each opponent discards a card. So it kind of destroys their sanity is the thing, and then your opponent might give you their blood freely, apparently. Primal Adversary. Again from Ilse Gort, the 3rd one. 3 mana wolf, 4/3, trample. When it enters the battlefield, you may pay 2 any number of times. When you pay this cost 1 or more times, put that many +1 counters on Primal Adversary. So it's a 5 mana 5/4 or a 7 mana 6/5. Wouldn't do it for that. Then up to that many target lands you control become 3/3 wolf creatures with haste that are still lands. Okay, wolf lands. If a whole land turns into a wolf, that's a little bit scary. Fateful Absence is a 2-mana instant. Destroy target creature or planeswalker its controller investigates. So they may draw 1 card eventually with the clue token. But we do see that maybe Sorin is away from his own tomb, or one of his friends is away from it. One of the two. But he seems angry, so maybe their friend is gone. Aww. That's sad. Poor Sorin. Malevolent Hermit or Benevolent Geist. Also white, almost easy, at least non-conditional kill spell, so that's cool. Malevolent Hermit and Benevolent Geist. The Hermit is a grumpy old man, which is a 2-mana 2/1 who lives alone, who you can sacrifice to counter target non-creature spell unless its controller pays 3. Pretty good, because then you can get it back for 3 mana to get a 2/2 flying spirit wizard with non-creature spells you control cannot be countered. If Benevolent Geist would be put into a graveyard from anywhere, exile it instead. Okay. Stormkirk Blood Thief is a 3-mana vampire rogue. At the beginning of your end step, if an opponent lost life this turn, it grows stronger. Scary. With House Voldaron Ascendant, some members of the Stormkirk line took it upon themselves to borrow from the Blood Tithes. Are these blood vials or something? Maybe. But so it's a 2/2 that will turn maybe into a 3/3 at the end of the 3rd turn, and then it becomes really hard to let it become a 4/4, so not the best, but it's cool. Jaren Corrupted Bishop looks a bit scary here. Whenever Jaren enters the battlefield or another non-token human you control dies, so wants to work with humans but wants them to die, you lose 1 life and create a new 1/1 white human creature token. Which does not work because it needs to be a non-token. But okay. 2 mana for target human you control gains lifelink until end of turn. Can give itself lifelink. At the beginning of your end step, if you have exactly 13 life, which is the reason why you want to give these 1/1s maybe lifelink, you may pay 6 mana. If you do, you may transform him. So you are down to 13 life. You got there, you had to pay 6 mana, and then you get Ormondal the Corruptor, which is a flying, with Jaren standing in front of him. So it's not really him transforming, it's more him summoning them and then maybe getting killed himself. Flying Trample lifelink 6/6, which is a big swing, and you can sacrifice another creature like Jaren. No, not Jaren because he has been transformed. And you can draw a card. Ah, Jaren, you've been such a faithful, useful insect. Look at how happy he is also. And now he gets sacrificed. He doesn't seem like the kind of person who wants to be sacrificed, but he does it anyway. For the Corruptor. Yeah, but I don't know. This is hard to get exactly 13 life. And then for 6 mana you get a 6/6 flying lifelink. Sacrifice a creature, draw a card is really strong. And it works really well with the zombies. So you can turn those zombies into card advantage, which is really strong. So yeah, I guess in this set it is really strong. Okay. Okay. But it seems weird to be that hard still. You see, I would want this card to really win me the game in 2 turns, but it does it in such a way longer time. And with all the unconditional kill spells that there are in this format, this might not be the best, but you still can already sacrifice those creatures even though the kill spells on the stack, so yeah, okay, it's strong. But you need to already win before playing this. Obsessive Astronomer. It's a 2 mana, and also you will have a lot of humans that you have created. Yeah. So the person looks obsessive from Josu. A 2 mana human wizard 2/2. If it's neither day or night, it becomes day. Whenever day becomes night or night becomes day. So it is really in red to have this effect. Discard up to 2 cards and draw that many cards. Okay. And it's cool that it's an astronomer, because they look at the sun and the moon and then apparently directly and then they learn stuff, but they also forget them because the sun is really bright and they get blind. Lord of the Forsaken is chained down but won't be for long. It's a 6 mana demon, also a 6/6, also flying trample, so it can be that easy. Sacrifice another creature, target player mills 3 cards. So yeah, it's almost as good. Pay 1 life, add colorless mana. Spend this mana only to cast a spell from your graveyard. Okay. So with the flashback. No, it only works with some flashback cards. Okay. Curious. But if you are playing this in another deck outside of the set, it can be really strong. Winter Thorn Blessing is a 2 mana sorcery where you can put a +1 counter on up to 1 target creature you control. Tap up to 1 target creature you don't control, and that creature doesn't untap during its controller's next untap step. Okay, so you freeze 1 card because it's the Winter Thorn Blessing, and you put a +1 card. Such a weird combination. Why is this here? It looks cool. Okay. Weird last card to end this on. But that was the last card. So yeah, I enjoyed looking at them again. Hope you liked watching. Have a nice evening. And maybe I will see you around. Bye.